Hey up everybody, my name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about talent and how it's not necessarily the be-all and end-all. And I think what's more important than talent is work ethic. It's better to just keep throwing yourself against the wall and being unable to climb it than it is to just jump over the wall with ease, because what's the kind of satisfaction there? You know, the whole kind of thing of people saying, oh, it's better to work really hard, start a business, grow it, and start everything from scratch and make yourself up from nothing than it is to, say, win the lottery. Obviously, one of these things is the more rewarding of the two. And that's because you've actually taken the time to improve your own skills naturally over time, rather than just having this, say, God-given talent or this just immense luck. You know, it's good to have a continual attempt and to continually fail than it is to not try and then just succeed on the first attempt. Because what kind of story is that once you actually do succeed? What kind of story is it to help other people grow and inspire them to just say, oh yeah, I tried it once and it just worked really well, so I just carried it on, you know? Like one of my favorite bands is a band called Dream Theater. They're not they're not my favorite band, but they're up there. And they kind of irritate me because, and it's not really their fault, but their story is just a bit boring. They went to a music school and then they dropped out of the music school to start a band, and then they started a band and it went really well, and then bam, they were famous. It's just not, you know, it's not particularly much, you know. It doesn't really inspire you to, you know, to make you think that you can do this as well, that you are capable, because you are much more capable than you think you are. You know, I for many years sort of sat there and just like, I'm useless, I can't really get stuff done, I'm not even all that talented. Who gives a shit if I'm talented? Who cares if you're talented? Why does it matter if you're talented? If you go out there and make stuff, it doesn't really matter if you're talented. What matters more is if you're genuine. It's better to genuinely fail than it is to inauthentically succeed. So why should you continue to just put yourself down for a lack of talent? Because it doesn't matter, I don't think. I don't think talent is the be-all and end-all. I don't think talent is the thing that dictates why someone likes something. I mean, some of the most famous musicians and filmmakers and actors and stuff aren't the best ones. They're not the most talented ones. Like, I like a lot of, I've started getting into pop music, right? But I don't think I could sit down and say that they're some of the most talented people ever. But it doesn't matter because they're some of the most popular people ever. Popularity and success doesn't necessarily equate to talent. There's surely some kind of vague correlation, because there's an awful lot of completely untalented people that no one's ever heard of, and these people are probably more talented than them. But at the same time, what's important to sort of take away from this is the fact that just because you don't necessarily have talent doesn't mean that you don't have a voice, and people are here for your voice, not your talent. They're not, you know, if you make your image all around how you can do sweep picking if you're a guitarist, and you can do all the really technical Joe Satriani stuff, that's all right, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to become the best guitarist ever. It doesn't mean that you're going to be, you know, succeeding as a guitarist compared to someone who might be able to do something that's genuine, even if it's just two very basic chords. It's fine to do stuff simply. It's fine to recognize your lack of talent, and it's fine to just sort of, yeah, you can go past if you want. It's totally fine to sort of sit down and just go, I'm not the best, but why should I let that stop me? Because why should you? You're free to do what you want. You're free to try things and fail and try again. Apologies for the cough. That's an example of a lack of talent. My lungs have a lack of talent for intaking air. But you know what, it's, in general, I think what's important is that we're all in the same pond. We're all trying stuff. We're all trying to make expressions of art, and we're all trying to get ourselves out there in some capacity. Even if we're not like actively making things, we all have that, you know, hobby or passion or that kind of thing that makes us feel like ourselves. And it's important to keep nurturing that, because the more you do it, the better you will get, and the more you will acquire talent over time anyway. So why bother worrying about what's going to happen anyway? It's like it being 6:30 and worrying about what's going to happen at 8 o'clock. Nothing's going to happen at 8 o'clock. It's just that more time will have passed. And as more time passes, you will gain more talent and you will gain more ability to do something. as you keep doing it, you learn what works, you learn what doesn't, you learn what's best, you learn what's worst, etc., etc. And as you continue to do that, you find your voice. And once you find your voice, then the world is your oyster, mate. You can do whatever the hell you want because nothing can hold you back, because you are you and no one can ever take that away from you. And it doesn't matter if you are someone who is maybe quite, you know, down to earth and simplistic and not particularly funny, or you could be like the funniest person on the planet, or you could be some sort of mix of the two, or you could be something entirely different. You know, it doesn't matter. Because every single person who has gotten some huge explosion of success didn't do it because they tried to play it safe. They did it because they tried something new and they tried something weird and it worked. So keep trying weird stuff and eventually you will get somewhere. You will eventually succeed if you just keep trying new and weird things and you keep, you know, exploring outside the box, because, you know, we all obviously have the box and our box is different from everybody else's box, but you still want to explore outside the box. You want to see what's going on in someone else's box. You visit their box and you kind of go, ooh, yeah, no, I like this person's box a little bit more. This person's box is really nice. So, you know, you've got this kind of to and fro of finding your own voice amidst the sea of everybody else's voice. What makes your voice distinct? What makes your voice relatable? Which means it's what makes it sort of similar to other people versus what makes it unique. Because just total uniqueness isn't brilliant on its own. It's useless on its own. I could just do like the most avant-garde outsider art and sure it'd be unique, but what could people really take away from it? Other than, ooh, yes. Ooh, yes, that is challenging. You know, it's fine to try stuff and it's fine to fail and it's fine to carry on. And that's part of the beauty of the human voice and the human expression, is that we all fail many, many times. And it's not just limited to small sort of nobodies like us. It also applies to the huge multi-million-dollar sets. Look at Madam Web. What a failure that was. But, you know, that's fine. I feel like Sony's probably learned their lesson from it, and if they haven't, they will at some point, and they'll try a different tactic. And sure, while Sony Pictures might not be the one that's doing super well now, that's not to say that they won't eventually find their voice and their footing and continue to improve in that sort of way. And, you know, the people that at the top that are doing really well, like Marvel, for instance, for the past 10 years has been doing incredibly well with their cinematic universe. And whilst it's not for me, I can recognize that it is absolutely astounding and revolutionary in what it's done for the cinematic landscape. It really is extraordinary. But their empire is slowly falling and new voices will come to take it. And that's the trend and the ebb and flow of the human zeitgeist, I suppose, in the artistic realm anyway. So it's, you know, you can always fill in one of those little voids that come around. And I don't just mean in the big scale, I mean on the small little scale. Like anything is possible, absolutely anything is possible. You can get big doing whatever, and it doesn't, and even you don't, maybe you don't want to get big, maybe you just want to find your voice, and that's it for the sake of it. And if anything, if you do it with that in mind, you are actually more likely to succeed, because do you know what it is? It's sort of like, you know, if you're waiting for a bus and then 3 turn up at once, or like say you're looking for a partner and you really want a partner and you feel really bad about being single. And then once you've kind of come to accept your singleness and you're fine with yourself and you're fine in your own shell, that's when suddenly you find yourself enthralled in a relationship. That's kind of what happens, is you always get what you want when you no longer want it. And that's basically the point of this video, is just don't worry about your talent, because it doesn't matter. It's not the be all and end all, because what's more important is the authenticity of your voice. What's more important than talent is knowing that you are you and no one can take that away from you. And that's basically the point of this video. So thank you so much for watching this one. Sorry about the leaves. It's the middle of autumn. Whee! So yeah, looks quite nice. It looked a lot better in real life actually, but what can you do? It's because I don't have the tripod. I could have probably set up a way better shot if I started with the tripod. But, you know, limitations get in the way, and talent isn't necessarily the be all and end all. You still kind of got the point. As long as you can get the point of something and what they're trying to do, and if you can resonate with that, that's more important than how successful they are at making that point. sometimes you listen to someone make a really good point, but they're not very good at, talking or explaining themselves. And so you're trying to listen in and try and hone in on what their point is, and you end up giving that sort of person a lot more of your thought and your attention than if someone compare talking to your friend to listening to a podcast. Your friend is going to make the point in a really roundabout way, and they're going to use really stupid metaphors and stuff, but you're going to sit and listen in because you kind of know them and their sensibilities, and two, it's more relatable because it's someone that knows nothing just like you, compared to, say, listening to experts on a topic talk about that topic. It's harder to sort of get into that. And I don't mean necessarily with academic stuff, I mean more in a subjective field like creativity or like, I don't know, self-improvement or that kind of thing. Because different things work for different people, and that's kind of fine. And you will gain talent in the end anyway, just from repetition. So don't worry about it so much, it's fine, everything's all right. And yeah, love you all. Leave your comments in the thing below about how you are not very talented, but don't let that get in the way. Yeah, and let me know about your last project, because I bet it was pretty neat. I bet it was better than you thought it was. So yeah, you can go past if you want. Yeah. Yeah. No worries. You have a good day, yeah? This cough is pain in the ass. Hey up everybody. My name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about filmmaking, both large and small scale, and where I see the tip in the balance, the shift in the balance occurring as we go from the early 21st century to the late 21st century. Because I'd like to think about this in the actual long term, not just in the next 10 years, because I feel like as a species we are incredibly short-sighted. We don't really bother to see what is going to happen further down the line. I mean, I don't think any filmmakers in the 1930s were really considering what, film in the 2020s would be like. I don't think people that made The Great Train Robbery were really thinking about Avatar or Gravity or one of them sort of films. So I feel like it's important to try and hypothesize about where things are going to go, what the future holds, and if it's wrong, then this can be a time capsule for what people thought, or at least what I thought in the 2020s. So I see personally quite good things happening. I'm not a massive pessimist. I'm a pessimist with regards to the workers' rights and humanity as a whole regarding the AI sort of thing, as AI possibly gains sentience, which that's going to cause exponential development in AI technology, which grim. And then on the film side and the workers' rights side, obviously, I feel like as fascism kind of grows in the yay, thanks for the election. As fascism kind of grows in the world over the next sort of 20 years, we're going to have some bad stuff kind of go down there. At the very least, we're going to see the continual erosion of workers' rights, and yeah, that's not going to be fun. But in terms of film, I see good things, particularly one which will be a response to a lot of these problems within the world. We, as a species, will and have been throughout the past sort of 15 years, been gaining a lot of new ways of expressing ourselves. And I've noticed we've kind of gone from modern to postmodern to like post fucking modern in like the last 15 years. You see the evolution of memes, for instance, the way that they sort of started off like rage comics that then sort of got bigger and bigger and wackier, and then kind of stepped down, and then you got like the Wojak fucking stupid things that are just basically rage comics. They're the exact same thing. There isn't actually a difference, but apparently rage comics are shit and Wojaks are cool. But anyway, Wojaks aren't really cool anymore. In terms of that, you see the very quick evolution. I think evolution of things like this and the little trends will go faster and faster and faster, and we'll start seeing more very short-term bursts of creative sort of work happen in a very short space of time. I kind of also see the democratization of film in general, which has been happening over the past sort of 60 years anyway, with the advent of, portable cameras, then into digital cameras and all that kind of stuff. And as time goes on, it will only get better and better, particularly as, the old smartphone thing gets better and better at doing the recording, start doing all that sort of stuff. These are going to get really good. You know, and as time goes on, like 50 years ago, you could not have gotten a shot like this with this kind of audio. You would have needed, you know, 3 sound guys out the back, one of which holding a giant lav mic, a giant boom pole. You would have needed a proper camera guy. You would have needed a camera assistant. You would have needed 2 lighting guys because the f-stop on that would have been terrible, and like the ISO and all that kind of stuff, the aperture sensors and all that kind of stuff is not nearly as good and well developed as they are today. But now I can just do all this stuff myself with the camera propped up on the, basically like this, but like a bigger one. So it's basically on one of these little wooden bits here. That's my setup, and that's fine, you know? And as time goes on, that's going to get easier and easier and easier as new little technologies kind of continue. We might start getting little things where you can put like a tripod mad thing on here that then could move automatically with some kind of remote control. That probably already exists. You can get consumer grade gimbals now. Can you imagine that 30 years ago? No, it's just madness. So I think as time goes on, the idea of a singular nerd living in their fucking basement is going to, you know, the idea of them making something of the scale of the Avengers is laughable to us now, but I think as time goes on, it's going to get more and more realistic. Because one, I don't particularly like AI, but AI is going to make that sort of thing a lot easier. You know, because instead of needing 300 VFX artists that, you know, all bloody want workers' rights and all that sort of shit, now we can just get one AI to do it and just spit it out. And, you know, as time goes on, we'll work out the kinks with the artisticness of that. I mean, do you think the first films that were done for camera full stop were particularly artsy? Not really. A lot of them are just filming dinner parties. And what's the one with the Wheel-Mary house or whatever it is? It's outside some house in France in like 1888, and it's basically just, it's a little bit of this. They do a little bit of a dance like that, and it's about 3 seconds long. You know, as the technology grows, AI is going to start being able to be more capable of art when it's in the right hands. But and that's also not me saying that I like AI. Fucking don't like AI. I don't see good things for it in our future. But as far as film goes, I do see the odd decent thing happening with it, and that in general, because also more and more people will be making films because the technology and the ability to do so is going to be put in so many more people's hands. Well, we are going to see more and more films coming out. I mean, already the number of sheer works of art has gone like that since the dawn of the internet, and then probably even before then. So, you know, as more things get made, my quantity over quality thing, which is basically the more stuff you make, the more chances you have of making something really good. That's basically it in a nutshell. I think that's going to apply to the broader landscape of film in general, and we're going to start seeing more good films. And I think as smaller creators make more films, they're going to make more good films, and as people enjoy more good films, the larger studios are going to start emulating what the small creators are doing. Partially because they'll start to notice that the small creators are the ones that can actually get a profit out of this sort of thing, because they're not wasting $50 million on getting Ryan Reynolds in or whatever, you know? Because yeah, he's a good actor, but if I just look at him in something, I just see Ryan Reynolds. I don't see the character or anything like that, and I bet I'm not alone on that. I mean, obviously it's fun to see Brad Pitt in a movie or whatever, because, you know, it's Brad Pitt and you're watching a movie with Brad Pitt in it. But there'll be new stars, and the new stars might not need nearly as much paying because, you know, they won't have the same Hollywood celebrity status. I think that might be something that slowly declines as, you know, as the general zeitgeist of the media landscape fractures, and we all go off in our different little bubbles, which is already happening with the advent of the internet. I mean, look at the amount of different music scenes that happen now, that everyone sort of, you know, goes off into their own little corner, and like, there's so many different little spaces on the internet that I've never seen or heard of, and then you find out about them and you see that they've got a really dedicated audience, and you go, bloody hell. Just like these videos, actually, these sort of videos. I didn't realize this was a whole space on the internet, but I made a couple of them. Turns out it was a space, it was a little community on the internet. I was like, oh, fucking all right, just keep doing them then, I suppose. So, well, that's kind of where I see film going in the future. I see it going in a generally positive place, but that's not to say there's not going to be a lot of struggles, and it's also not to say that, you know, in terms of workers' rights for people in the industry at large, that is going to be a massive problem. But on the artistic side of things, I do see some decent stuff on the horizon. I do feel like the Hollywood behemoth is going to slowly crumble over the next 30 years, as or it will have to change massively. And like, you know, these $200–300 million bloody Avatar 2, Avengers 5, Transformers 8, all this sort of stuff isn't going to be able to hold ground in a future where, you know, some twat off a camcorder or an iPhone can make something that feels just as good and just as proper and just as artistically rewarding and creatively fulfilling for the person and you know, rewarding for the audience. And I kind of think that's a good thing overall. I feel like it's a shift in the balance from, you know, the people that sort of at the top, the studio execs and all that kind of stuff. Power is leaving their pockets and entering ours. And it's not going to happen overnight, but in the next 20–30 years, possibly. And yeah, I hope that, you know, workers' rights don't completely erode, but I mean, you seen what's going on out there? I don't know about that. Not optimistic about the future of humanity in general, but as far as the, you know, the future of the artistic medium of film, I see good things. Also, I see good things with music as well. I think that 2020 has been one of the best decades for music since the 60s, to be honest. It really has. You've got a lot of good stuff. So yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you had a good day, and hope this didn't sort of ruin the day. Hope you continue to have a good day, and I hope that I can sort of end the video now without saying hope you have a good day one more time. Hope you have a good day, everybody. Bye bye, take care. Hey up everybody, my name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about limitations. Now at the moment I don't really have a tripod, so I've been kind of very limited in the kind of shots that I can get. However, with limitations comes new things to explore and to try. So right now this camera is on this gate fucking thing, right? And so it's on the edge near the hinge and I'm just on the far end. And so I'm just messing around with it. And I just think this looks so cool. How cool is this, right? And I could never have done this on a tripod. I would never have thought to do this on a tripod because I never would have thought to just take it off the tripod, put it on this, where it's a little bit loose to be honest, and it's a bit freaky, and just start doing this. So every limitation you have comes with opportunity. Every time you come to a hurdle, there's an interesting way of jumping over it. And every time you jump over a hurdle, not only do you get, you know, more fit and healthy because you've jumped over a hurdle, but you also realize how to jump in the future. So you sort of think, okay, well, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. And I'm going to try and stop that because you're probably getting a wee bit sick. So yeah. So why did I want to make this video? Well, because, right, a lot of people out there really get themselves down about the nature of what they're doing and they want to get everything perfect. They want to put everything, you know, down to a T and they want to get everything right, okay? And I respect that because you want to get things right. Obviously, I don't want to get things wrong. No one wants to get things wrong. But are you going to get things right all the time? No. Does Stephen Hawking, well, did he get things right all the time? No. Does your absolute favorite hero, the person that inspires you the most, do you love every single thing that they did throughout their entire life? Your favorite filmmaker, do you love every single film he did? Your favorite musician, do you love every song he did, even the B-sides? I don't know if you do. There's stuff that they did that you might find a little bit, you know, and that's okay. Because the more that you make stuff, the more chances you have at making something good. The more times that you go out there and you throw the dart, the more times you are likely to hit a bullseye. So if I throw a dart at a dartboard once, I might hit the bullseye like in 1 in 100 times. So if I throw 100 darts, that's 100% chance of hitting the bullseye. I know that's not how statistics works, by the way, before all the statisticians come into the comments. And sorry if you're getting a wee bit sick from this, but it's just so cool. I love this whole wee sort of thing. So do you see what I mean when it comes to the limitations that you have? You can be limited by so many things. I broke the base plate on my camera, so I wasn't able to use a tripod. And as a result of me not being able to use a tripod, I'm doing this. I would never have been able to do this, and I never would have thought to do this if I had that resource. And now that I lost that resource, I can come up with something new. So it's the same way that someone who just has to film on a phone because they don't have a camera like I do, you know, they will find ways to make use of the phone, particularly in, what's the first film that was shot on an iPhone? Is it Tangerine? Something like that. They have a shot in Tangerine, which is, basically they're getting into a car and they have a shot from underneath the pedal. So the camera is here and the pedal is here. And it's just a, you know, quick thing of the pedal being hit down from underneath. Now, if you wanted to do that with a proper camera like the one I'm filming this on, you would need to cut the entire bottom out of the car. You would need to lift it up with a hydraulic thing, and then you would need to shoot it from underneath, which that's a lot of effort when you can just do it with an iPhone for, you know, for a second long shot. You know, I think what's more interesting about that isn't the fact that it's in 10-bit fucking RAW or whatever. It's the fact that it's an angle that looks cool. You know, that's the bit that's interesting. It's not the fact that it's got the specifications of an Arial Exa, you know. So, you know, don't let yourself get down over, you know, the kind of resources you have and things that you have available to you, because some people out there have access to way more shit than I do, and I have way more access to shit than some people out there. Look at Wakaliwood fucking Productions, man. They made everything out of one laptop and a digicam in Uganda, right? And what he did is he would make one film and he would have to delete the film off his hard drive so that he could make the second film because he couldn't afford to get more hard drive space. You know, there is nothing that can limit you, okay? There is absolutely nothing that can limit your creativity and your ability to make things and express yourself. There is nothing that can stop you from giving your voice. Not whether you're being mute, you're being shy, or anything like that. Nothing can stop you. So, and the only thing that can is your own demotivational thing in your brain, your own little anxiety that sits there and goes, you can't do it, people are gonna laugh at you. Well, say people laugh at you. I made a video about golf, right? And why I don't like golf. I've got all sorts of comments on there that are nasty. Who cares? You know? Like, I find some of them quite funny. You know, it's whatever to me. And I think that's how it should sort of be. I feel like that's the approach that I would like people to take. I think if you just go out there and just do it and not really give a fuck about what people think of you, then you're going to have so much of a better time in life. And that's why I make these videos, is just to remind, you know, people that things are all right. They're way less bad than you might think they are, because we're all very, you know, I'm very prone to catastrophizing and going, oh my God, everything's going to go wrong. What happens when everything goes wrong? You know, if everything goes wrong, if everything's gone wrong for me in the past, you know, if everything goes wrong, there's nowhere further to fall. You can only go up. And I know that's a cliche saying, so I'm going to unsay it. So yeah, you can just go forward and just try stuff, because the more you try, the more you experiment, the more chances you have of an experiment succeeding, like this. Because this is so cool, in my opinion. Whee! So yeah, try something like this, because you might as well see where it takes you. You might as well see where the rabbit hole goes. Try stuff. See what happens. I'm trying to do one like big smooth one, but this, can you see this hedge, bush bramble thing? Kind of gets in the way. I'm gonna try and push against this, but I need to pull myself in a little bit first. 3, 2, 1, go. I didn't go very far. Let me try it one more time. That was worse. Right, one more try, and then we pack it in, okay? I slowed my acceleration by hitting this bramble down here. So, thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye. Hey up, everybody. My name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk a little bit about the cinema, right? So I'm not someone who actually goes to the cinema on a mega frequent basis, but whenever I do go, it's always a nice little time. Even if I'm seeing a movie that is complete, you know, garbage. I think the worst movie I've seen in the cinema is Grown Ups 2. It was really bad, as you can imagine. I mean, like, it's Adam Sandler at his worst. But you know what? I went and I actually had a good time. Even though the movie itself was terrible, I had a good time, right? And it's the same way I've gone to see good movies in the cinema. I saw Interstellar in the cinema. That was a good movie. I saw Independence Day, the original, in the cinema. That was really good. And all sorts of films that you see, right? And I think the being in that environment makes the film a little bit better, right? In most cases, particularly with blockbusters, particularly with things with big action scenes and, you know, big names and all that kind of stuff, the spectacle is kind of represented by the environment that you're in. And that helps to appreciate what's going on in the film a lot more. Comparatively, watching some like small indie sort of thing in a big cinema doesn't quite have the same impact on me compared to if I was to watch that, say, at home on the telly, because it's a smaller film, so I feel like it deserves a bit of a smaller environment to actually watch it. Now, if you're someone like that goes to the sort of Quentin Tarantino school of philosophy, or the Christopher Nolan school of philosophy around cinemas, you might quite disagree with that because it's kind of streaming and all these various things are killing the cinema experience. And that certainly is true. Cinemas are failing all across the country. This one's just opened up. I'm not sure why. It'll probably be here for about 2 years and then it's going to disappear. I haven't actually been in yet. I'm not actually going in after the video. I'm just doing a video here and then I'm going to fuck off down that way. And basically, the reason that I sort of thought I'd come out here is look at the films that are here, right? So you got Moana 2, you got Gladiator 2, you got Paddington 3, you got Red 1, and that's just the name of the film, and it's quite a lot, you know. That's a lot of sequels, and that's an issue that's always been around, is sequelizing. It's the fact that people want something that's familiar to them. People want something that they can recognize, and you know what? I'm not going to fault people for that. I'm the same. The new Alan Partridge series is coming out next year. I'm excited for it, right? He could go out and he's made plenty of like serious, Steve Coogan's gone and made plenty of serious new original things, and I've just not bothered with them. But I keep up with the Alan Partridge because I like it, right? So we all do it, and let's not pretend like we're better than other sort of people who do just love seeing the new sequels or the new Marvel movies or whatever. Because we all have that. We all have our comfort viewing. We all have that thing that resonates with us, and that's fine. And I'm happy to have this kind of entertainment that I might not be into if it makes other people happy, because that's the most important reason. That's why we make stuff, right? It's because we want to make some kind of creative expression that resonates with people. And sure, it might not resonate with me. I don't like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it's a load of shite. But it clearly resonates to millions and millions of people who love it, and it helps them. I bet the MCU has stopped someone from offing themselves. I bet that kind of thing has happened. I bet it's, you know, brought people together. I'm sure relationships have formed over a brilliant experience seeing Thor 2, which is like one of the worst ones, right? So all of these things kind of come together in this cinema, right? Well, not this one, but all sorts. And it's not just Big View, Cineworld, whatever the American ones are called, right? Those big chain cinemas that show the new blockbusters like these, right? Well, this isn't one of them, actually. This is a smaller India sort of one. And there's a few of those. Like there's one in Barnes, I can't remember the name of it, that does loads of like random old films and stuff. I saw Full Metal Jacket there. I saw Rocky there. I saw a couple other films, I can't remember what. But you get the general point, right? Is you're seeing old stuff in the cinema, you're seeing kind of classics, etc., etc. And I think there's a lot of that kind of going on, and that can help bring people together as well. So if you're not into one thing, you've got another thing for you. And I think we should start going out into these collective experiences more and trying to get out of the house, right? Because it's very, very, very easy to, you know, get lost in the Netflix streaming. You know, you end up going on episode 1, and then before you know it, you're on episode fucking 9, right? And it's annoying because it's the cliffhangers. It's the cliffhangers at the end of each episode that get you. And then after the 5th cliffhanger, you're kind of just exhausted. You're like, fuck off with the cliffhangers. Just give me a resolution, for God's sake. This is why I don't really keep up with serious, like serialized drama TV, because it goes on so long and it's constantly blue balling you until it gets to the end. Right? That's how it feels anyway. But with a film, I like a film because it's a single collective experience. If you're in a cinema, you've got other people, and even though in the UK we don't clap and all that sort of stuff, it's nice to hear like the It's nice to hear like other people laugh in a comedy, even if it's not particularly good comedy. You're there laughing with other people. People were laughing at the bloody Grown Ups 2 film. It wasn't a completely dead audience. And if I was to go back to that film, like there's the bit where he jumps off a cliff and his anus kind of spreads over another man's face, right? That's the kind of humor we're talking about. It's not particularly funny stuff, but with other people laughing, it kind of allows you to loosen up and to laugh. And I think that's what the magic of the cinema is. It's the other people being there. Like, sure, it's nice once in a while to be in a cinema and it's literally just you on your own. But imagine if that was every single time you went to the cinema. It'd be kind of dead. It's the same reason if I was a multi-millionaire, I wouldn't really want to make my own private cinema because it would just feel lonely, just sitting in this big auditorium all on my own while a thing plays at me. I just feel like that would be a little bit Last Act of Citizen Kane, you know? Wouldn't be too into that. So that's generally the overall point of this video is just a few musings on cinemas in general, because they are dying. And I think what's going to replace the View Cinema and the Cineworlds and all of these things, showing these big blockbusters, because I do think the blockbuster in general is dying. I think what's going to replace this is because we're going to have this need to communicate and to converge and convene in certain areas, right? For the sake of some purpose, right? What we're going to find is we're going to start seeing more small picture houses, independently owned sort of things, that instead of showing the new films, the new blockbusters or whatever, they'll show just whatever they think might resonate with people. Do they think Rocky might work? Yeah, go for it. Do you think the Rocky Horror Picture Show might work? Yeah, go for it. Do you think Rocky 2 might work? Yeah, go for it. So you'll slowly, over the course of probably the next 25, 30 years, you'll start seeing more and more small picture houses, maybe one screen, maybe like a rooftop car park sort of showing sort of thing, or maybe we'll just start putting projectors in the parks, you know, because projector technology is getting a lot better. I've gone to someone's house and they just had a projector, just like it was normal, right? And it looked bloody good as well. Like he projected it onto his wall, like the entire wall, like the size of one of these windows, right? That was the size of his TV, and it looked good. The colors were crisp, right? So if you extrapolate that out to maybe a slightly larger group context of maybe 20, 30 people, you could definitely get 20, 30 Rocky Horror Picture Show fans to come down to one particular area with one person with a projector and make that happen. So I don't think the cinema experience will die. I think it will change and it will adapt the same way that it has throughout the ages, the same way that in like 1895, people went to the cinema, which wasn't really a cinema, it was just a small auditorium, like quite a small one, and they showed the train film, you know, the thing where the train's coming towards the camera, and loads of people fled the scene because they thought the train was going to come and hit them, right? So it's gone from that to seeing Avatar 2 in the Cineworld, right? So I think from there, I think that's bloated and hit its peak in terms of largeness. I think now we're on a trajectory downwards away from scale and large scale kind of films and more towards smaller independent works, and we're going to start seeing more community driven cinemas and less chain owned corporate sponsored sort of ones, which in a way is good, but I also do think that in general it means less money for pictures as a whole. So we're going to start seeing less high budget productions, less $100 million budgets, more $1 million budgets. But I think with the advent of new technologies that make the democratization of film a lot easier, you know, like I can film this and it looks basically film-like. I know it's not the most interesting shot in the world. I don't pretend to be like some brilliant director of photography or anything, but it is a shot that could be in a film. It's shot on super 35mm, so I don't see why it couldn't be in a film, right? And that costs 600 quid, that camera, right? And as time goes on, in 15 years, it'll probably cost 200. And everything will become easier to do from the individual point of view. You'll be able to make something like this. You already can make something like this if you so want to, right? You can make a film like this. Look at like the Joel Haver projects. Some of them have actually been screened. Look at the Big Les show with Tumor Island 3, where they screened that in a little tour. They did a little cinema tour of the UK. They also did one in Australia, I think one in America as well. But yeah, they did all that kind of stuff. And so I think we're going to start seeing more of that, more community-driven cinema experiences and film experiences, and less Paddington in Peru and Gladiator 2. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you managed to get something out of it. If you disagree with anything I said, please let me know. Vice versa, if you do agree, let me know. yeah, that's basically the video. So have a good rest of the day. Take care, everybody. Bye. Hey up everybody, my name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you about how I feel like the future of film is in small hands and the power struggle between small creators and large-scale blockbusters is going to slowly balance out, and we're going to start seeing small sort of scale films, you know, that cost maybe $10 to $50 to $100,000. That's going to be the new norm, I think. In the next 30 years, I think that is going to become the normal thing that people watch. Particularly with the advent of streaming, I think that is the main death blow to the Hollywood system at large. Things like Netflix and stuff, sure, with the large-scale production companies are able to kind of work around things, and they're managing to use Netflix and Amazon Prime and various platforms like this to help keep themselves afloat for the moment. But the money just isn't quite there in Netflix in the way that it is in the cinema. And I feel like that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a bad thing, obviously, for the all the people that work on these films and the people that whose careers rely on this Hollywood structure. And I'm using Hollywood as an overall sort of term for large-scale blockbusters, large-scale films. Big sets, big crews, and that kind of thing. Multi-million-dollar or pound or yen or rupee projects are slowly going to go the way of the dodo, and we're going to start seeing a lot less $50 million pictures and a lot more $50,000 pictures. And I do think that streaming is the cause of this. If you look at, say, the advent of television in the 50s and 60s, that caused a huge shift away from large-scale epics from the 50s and the 40s, and it started to lead us a lot more towards smaller-scale films. Heaven's Gate, for instance, would probably be the final death blow to the traditional epic. You obviously had stuff after that, but it wasn't quite the same. It wasn't about the absolute hugeness, the insane scale of these films, and it became more about telling a grand story. So something like Once Upon a Time in America, for instance, whilst it's an incredibly large-scale film and it's a very long film, I feel like by that point we're starting to see a shift away from just scale in terms of production value and more scale in terms of the stories that are being told, because that's a very ambitious story. It's kind of like, I haven't seen The Irishman, but it feels like maybe The Irishman before The Irishman, and I shouldn't really say that because I've not seen The Irishman, but you kind of get the sense that large-scale films took a bit of a backseat for a while, and they managed to make a comeback. They managed to find something that worked for them, and then you started seeing stuff in the early 2000s, and then particularly in the 2010s, the superhero genre was really able to bring in huge multi-$100 million budgets, $200, $300 million budgets just regularly, 3-4 times a year, and they would earn $1+ billion pretty much every single time. But I think as we've started to see Netflix really get a foothold, and I'm not just talking about Netflix on its own, but I also mean the advent of YouTube and the advent of TikTok and the advent of all of these various platforms that we all kind of use here and there. I feel like as that stuff becomes the more normal thing to watch, that becomes our comfort food. People, if they want to watch something that's just comforting and just like they can turn their brain off, they're not going to go to the cinema anymore. They're going to go for something that is a couple minutes long rather than something that's 120 minutes long. And the reason for that is quite simple. It's that films, at the end of the day, do take quite a lot of emotional struggle to actually sit through. And I don't mean that in just the sense that they're long. I mean that in the sense that they are quite emotionally challenging. You're following characters that are going through real hard times and they're trying to get things done, and you see the character growth and the development and all this sort of stuff, and the various, maybe there's action scenes in it, or maybe there's like a love story, or maybe there's some like really horrible sort of stuff. I mean, like for instance, World War II films and that kind of thing, they're quite challenging to watch. They're not something that you would just chuck on and just have a sit through casually, compared to something like you know, whatever sort of thing you see on the YouTube browse features, the homepage or your suggested videos and all that sort of stuff. And because those videos can be a lot shorter, you can watch them just like one after the other. It's the same reason why people might not watch a film, but they might watch 10 episodes of a TV series on Netflix, because it's in smaller chunks. And so they sit there and they watch the one, and then it gives us a cliffhanger to watch the next episode. And so you're like, oh, I really want to know what happens in the next episode. So you watch the next episode, and then that kind of continues and continues and continues. And you end up in somewhere where you've ended up watching a lot more in terms of runtime. You've watched a lot more content compared to if you were just put on a film. Even though the film itself was a lot shorter, it feels like a bigger commitment to actually watch it. And I feel like the idea of something being a smaller commitment is going to gain foothold, particularly as attention spans, you know, go down. We're already seeing that as a problem, particularly with the advent of TikTok and short form content, Instagram Reels and all that sort of stuff. Now attention spans, particularly in the younger generations like mine and the generation that's following me, we're all a lot, we find it quite difficult to concentrate on things for a long period of time. And I do think that is partially because of the internet, and probably also due to some other factors that I can't quite think of at the moment. But keeping it within the internet space, I think as production companies and as the Hollywood overall system at large starts to adapt to this form of entertainment, we're going to start seeing a shift in what kind of films we get. We're going to start seeing smaller and more casual stories, and we're going to start seeing less grand scale epics. We're going to start seeing less extreme, possibly drama. We're going to see a lot less, you know, 3-hour runtimes. We're going to start seeing more 80, 90-minute runtimes. We're going to start seeing less $100 million budgets. We're going to start seeing more $1 million budgets and $100,000 budgets and things like that. Particularly because the technology is getting better and better, allows small-time creators to make more professional-looking products. I mean, I'm not going to toot my own trumpet, but this feels like it's a fairly professional-looking shot, and it's not. My camera is sat on my coat. My camera is sat on my coat with the lens cap on one side, so it's kind of a little bit more balanced, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to increase the scale by like 105 and rotate it maybe 1 degree one way or the other, so it's absolutely perfect. And so you end up, you know, because we're able to do things in this way, and we're all able to make stuff, you know, from our phones, and we're able to make stuff, you know, from like little camcorders that we can get, or taking audio from the phone, and we can do all sorts of crazy stuff now that we couldn't do 20 or 30 years ago. And new stories are starting to be told, and we're starting to see new voices emerge in this space, particularly in this past 3 or 4 years since the pandemics. I think the pandemic caused a huge shift, and it really was probably the final death blow to cinemas. And you know, cinemas are obviously still around, but I feel like people now don't quite go to the View Cinema or the Cineworld or whatever the American equivalent is, and now they're going to more like local picture houses to see older films. I find myself being invited out to see a lot more like, oh, do you want to see A Clockwork Orange at the BFI, rather than, do you want to see the new film at the View Cinema? And I think that appreciation for the classics is going to come back around at some point, and we're going to start seeing some kind of homage to the past throughout the way that we actually create films and the way that we do things. We're going to start seeing smaller scale stories in the vein of the 70s, because I do feel like at the moment film is repeating its own history. In the 60s you had the advent of television, and in the 2010s you had the advent of streaming, and they're having very similar effects and impacts on the film industry at large as they adapt. And I do think that the Hollywood system is going to adapt. I don't think it's going to disappear completely. And the small-time creators and the indie scene is going to become the new status quo, because at the end of the day, there's a huge market for films that are just easy to watch and have this sort of blockbustery professionalism, that have this large-scale grandiosity to them that people really enjoy and people really want to see. And I don't think that's going to go away. But as small creators are able to replicate that style more and more authentically, we're going to start seeing a shift away from the Hollywood structure as they fail to adapt to the ever increasingly fast-paced nature of the change that is going on. Because if you look at the scene of video content creation 10 years ago on YouTube and then compare it to today, the sheer scale of difference between that is absolutely immense. If you look at, say, I think about 12 years ago, a channel called Niga Higa, He is a very popular YouTube channel. You've probably heard of him. He was one of the original content creators on this platform. He was one of the first people to be monetized. He was the top subscribed channel for a good amount of time. He made a film in 2012. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like he was a assassin who fell in love with this woman who I think he was meant to protect at this high school. And it had this air of like this professionalism, but it was uploaded to YouTube completely for free. I think it had a brief stint on some film festival or something like that, maybe. I don't exactly know. And I think that was one of the first instances of a truly large-scale production being shown for free on YouTube for ad revenue, and ad revenue being the monetization goal rather than ticket sales, which you would get from cinema. And now you've got Netflix, which came up, I think, a year after that. I think Netflix launched in 2013, before it was like obviously the DVD shipping thing, and then it became an online streaming platform, the first majorly successful one. And then obviously you started to get, you know, Disney Plus and Universal, Paramount, whatever it's called, Paramount Plus and HBO Max and all these sort of things that are replicating Netflix in this sort of way. So I think as they sort of do that, they're backing themselves into a corner. Meanwhile, the democratized film landscape as a whole is able to much more freely continue to create for free and gain a wider audience without having to worry about just getting the audience to come onto their platform, which means that they then have to invest in many other shows, so they have to have a big backlog. Now you're not necessarily going to need that because you're just one fish amongst many fish in this big ocean that we call the YouTube space. Or if YouTube fails, whatever the next streaming platform will be that people will use in this sort of same way. Maybe TikTok films will become some kind of big thing. We'll start seeing proper professional looking quality things coming out of TikTok with the vertical videos and stuff like that. There's already a couple vertical movies that have come out. I remember I think it was Spike Lee or Spike Jones or someone like that. It was Spike something. He made an advert for some company and it was all in vertical video, and it was really cool to watch because he really made use of it. I remember there being this one shot of like someone climbing out of a ravine, and that was the perfect shot to have in that aspect ratio. So every aspect ratio does have its use. I don't really necessarily hate vertical video or anything like that. I used to, but it's just another tool in the box. It's another thing that you can do. It's another style. It's another way that you can create, and that's cool. The more options we have as creators, the more tools in our toolbox, the more things that we can make and the more things that we can do. And that's just an amazingly beautiful little thing that we actually have going here, is this ability to just create freely and to express ourselves genuinely in a way that we weren't really able to do, say, 20 years ago. We couldn't do something like this, and like, you know, you had stuff like the Angry Video Game Nerd, which was probably one of the first, you know, proper series that was on the internet, and that launched in, I think, 2004. And I think since then, that helped to prove that there is an audience for, you know, small-scale productions that feel authentic. And I think authenticity is going to become the new currency within film. We're going to start valuing authenticity within film more over the grandiosity and the sheer scale of a large production. And I think that's a good thing. I think that the future of film is fairly bright. However, I don't necessarily think that it's going to be great for the people that rely on the industry at the moment. So I'm all right because I do events, but if I was working like a VFX house or something, I would be shitting bricks right now. And I really feel for all the people that, you know, have invested their time into an industry like VFX, which is incredibly exploitative, like incredibly exploitative, with the amount of crunch time and the extreme hours and the lack of pay and that kind of thing. You know, it's horrible what goes on there. So maybe in a sort of a bad way, this will be good for the long term, but I don't know. I don't think that will necessarily be the case. I feel like, is there space for every single person on Earth to be their own voice in this big echo chamber that we have? Or can we do that? Can everyone do this? I don't know. And I don't mean like physically, I mean, say if everyone could do this, would there be the capacity for everyone to sit down and watch all this stuff? Because the amount of films that come out is only increasing exponentially as more and more people are able to create, and the more that people are able to put aside, say, $3,000 or £3,000 to make a film, and that £3,000 goes so much further now than it did 10 years ago, and 10 years ago it went way further than it did 20 years ago, and so on and so forth and so forth. And so we're going to start seeing an awful lot of change coming. We really are going to see an awful lot of change. And I think the future of film is in small hands. It is going to be in small hands, particularly going forward with the advent of AI. I really think AI is going to be a big game changer, particularly allowing a small scale production company with maybe 3 or 4 people working for it. They'd be able to create something that looks like it's got a budget of $30 million in 20 years. And so what a $30 million budget film, hello, how you doing? Ah, you are dog of the day, you are. You've interrupted my flow though. So what was I saying? You've got, yeah, the future of film is in small hands, and you know, what a $30 million budget film means now is going to mean something completely different in 20 years, because, you know, because now a lot of the cost of these $200 million pictures goes towards the extreme scale VFX. Everything is so VFX heavy and so CGI heavy, and this isn't a video complaining about that in any way. It's more just saying that as the future goes on and we're able to access technologies that allow us to do these things simpler, in a more simple way, we're going to start seeing smaller scale projects that are able to replicate what at the moment seems like an incredibly expensive process. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's a really good thing for the nature of human expression. And perhaps with the advent of AI, we're going to start seeing a competition between AI voices and human voices. I kind of hope we don't, but who knows what's going to happen. I'm not a fucking, ooh, I see into the future. But I'm just giving my thoughts on what I see going forwards, because I do think there is some big, almost revolution scale change on the horizon. I really, really think that. Particularly by the end of the decade, we will start to have a good idea of what that means. And yeah, I think that's basically everything I've kind of got to say. Thank you so much for watching this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below about how you feel the future of this industry is going to go. Do you think that we're going to start seeing small voices getting promoted, or do you think that the Hollywood system is going to somehow manage to crush the small voice in order to stay afloat for survival needs? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I can only hope for good things. And at the moment, it seems like good things are not necessarily going to happen, but I feel optimistic. I feel fairly optimistic. So yeah, that's going to be all from me. Love you all. Gee. Fuck's sake. I managed to go the whole video without that happening. Oh, thank you very much for watching. Have a good day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hey up, everybody. My name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you about one of my favourite ever movies, and that film is called Before Sunrise, directed by Richard Linklater, starring Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. It's released in 1995, and when I first watched it, it made a really tremendous impact on me, and I think it's probably the single film that most developed my taste in regard to film, the most developed my you know, my style and my vision and how I want to make films going forward. I think I saw it and it just changed everything for me, and I feel like it was the first film that really made me feel like myself a little bit. And the reason I'm making this video is because I kind of don't want to watch it again. I've been thinking about this because I've not seen it in about 4 years. I've watched it about 10 times, which for me is a lot. Like, that is a hell of a lot. I'm not really someone to rewatch movies. I know some people might be able to say, like, oh, I've watched this film 50 times or whatever. 10 times for me, and every single time was just, it made me cry. It made me cry every single time without fail. If you haven't seen the film, it's a film where it starts off on a train in Vienna, and it first shows like this German couple arguing, and you see Julie Delpy and you see Ethan Hawke, and they make a bit of eye contact, like, bloody hell, Jesus, man, you see that? And they get talking first about that, and then they go off in their own little direction, and then they kind of talk a little bit more, and they get a drink together on the train, and they have a really nice time together, and it gets time for Julie Delpy to get to her station, and Ethan Hawke kind of goes, well, listen, I've really enjoyed spending time with you, and he gets quite excitable, and I thought that was quite cute. And he sort of says, listen, I know this is an insane idea and you're probably going to say no, but look, I've got like an extra day pass, and I imagine you've kind of got the same, where we could just get off here, just enjoy Vienna for the night, and then get the 7 o'clock train in the morning, and then just carry on our separate ways, and we could just sort of do things that way. And she kind of goes, yeah, I mean, it would be kind of nice. He kind of talks her into it. And at first it's a little bit awkward as they go around Vienna, because they're a little bit like, God, isn't it weird that we're doing this? A lot of the conversation revolves around that at first, as they're still getting to know each other. You know, when you get to know someone, you're on that quite basic level with them, where you can't quite talk about your deepest, darkest insecurities or thoughts on the world and that kind of thing, because you don't know how they're going to take that sort of thing. You certainly can't get into anything political or anything like that, because you don't know who that person is. Are you going to say something that completely terrifies them and scares them off you? Because now you're stuck together. If, like, you know, if Ethan Hawke or Julie Delpy say something that goes wrong and it turns everything sour, they're stuck together for the next like 12 hours. So what are you going to do? They walk across a bridge, and this German play, these two guys that are in this play come up to them and offer them tickets for the play, and they say, yeah, we'll probably go to that. And something I really like about the film is they big this scene up, and they really make you think that they're going to go to this play later, and then they don't, which is an exact sort of thing that happens in these sort of circumstances, because I've lived Before Sunrise in terms of how I felt about it on that day, when I was walking around and just sort of feel like, and you look at the person, you're just like, this is like the most magical moment of my life ever, bar none. And it feels like it's a movie, and I could name the specific movie, and it is Before Sunrise. And obviously there's differences in, you know, the circumstances and all that kind of stuff, but it made me think that this is a really universal film. And I think in terms of romantic films, it's possibly the most romantic film and the most true to life film in terms of its romance. Obviously the situation is a bit wacky, but the way that people meet tends to be a little bit wacky, and it tends to be a day where it just feels a little bit almost strange. I'm trying to remember the exact word, but it just seems really strange that this sort of thing could happen in your life, which normally seems so boring. And I've thought that for quite a while, and I stopped watching Before Sunrise because I don't know, it just sort of, my attitude towards life sort of started to feel a little bit less happy-go-lucky and sort of, you know, youthful energy and all that kind of stuff. I started to feel a little bit less like Before Sunrise and a bit more like Before Midnight. A bit of context if you don't know. Before Sunrise is the first part of a trilogy. That's Before Sunrise, which was made in 1995, and then Before Sunset, which was made in 2004, and then Before Midnight, which was made in 2013. And each of these films chronicles a chapter in these two people's lives as their lives reconvene over like decades, essentially. And it shows them grow from like very young, happy-go-lucky sort of people to older, middle-aged sort of people that have, you know, kids and, you know, worries and family issues that need to be sorted out and all that kind of personal stuff that needs to be resolved. So Before Midnight is a much less happy-go-lucky sort of film than Before Sunrise is. And I started to feel a lot more in that kind of lane. And then I kind of went the other way and I started to feel happy-go-lucky again. And it made me really inspired to actually watch Before Sunrise again. And I thought, oh, I can finally watch Before Sunrise again, because I hadn't wanted to watch it for a long time, because it felt like I would not be able to relate to it in the same way that I had so many times before. So I didn't watch it for quite a long time. And I still haven't seen it in about 4 years, because I started to worry that what if I find these characters really, really unlikable? Because Ethan Hawke can be a little bit of a snidey, sort of smirmy kind of ladies' man, it feels like sometimes in that film, from my recollection and the way that he talks and the way that he actually brings up the idea. And I started to worry that if I actually go back and watch it, that it will ruin the magic that that film has put into me. Because I feel like I have something holistic from the experience of watching Before Sunrise that I don't think I'll ever be able to recapture. I truly think that that moment has been rooted in time and it's sorted. And I'm so thankful that that film does exist, even if I don't want to watch it again. And it will remain my favorite film until the day I die, most likely. I mean, I would love if a film could manage to overtake it, but it's got a hell of a high bar to actually overcome if it wants to be better than Before Sunrise. Now I can watch Before Sunset still. Before Sunset isn't really a problem for me, but Before Sunrise just feels a little bit like, I don't know, I'm just really worried that I'm going to go back to it and I'm going to find the characters unlikable, and I'm going to find the whole situation a bit kitsch, and I'm going to find the whole thing just a little bit like soppy and bland and kind of not nearly as magical as I maybe thought it was when I originally saw it. And maybe my mind was a bit more open, and because I was still developing and I was still young and I was still growing and all that sort of stuff, and obviously I still am, but I'm more developed and I'm more grown now than I was then, so my mind could take that kind of thing, whereas maybe now it can't. That's maybe my idea, I'm not entirely sure, but I just wanted to make this video just to say that Before Sunrise is easily my favorite film. I really love it. It's got something to me, it's got something about it that feels so true to life and so true to the human experience that you cannot possibly do anything better with. And Richard Linklater is a master at the dialogue thing. Like, I mean, Quentin Tarantino gets the praise for his masterful dialogue, and he's really good at dialogue. I don't want to turn it into a comparison, but I really want to talk about Richard Linklater's dialogue and something that he does, which really surprises me. His films aren't particularly improvised. I bought the script for Before Sunrise and Before Sunset, and I read through them, and this is how well I knew the film at the time. I could tell that there was only 2 lines of dialogue that were different from the script compared to the movie. And it's not like I was reading the book and then having the film on in the background and analysing the differences. I just knew that wording sounded a little bit different and that word in there sounded a little bit different. There's one bit in there, there's a graveyard scene in Before Sunrise where they go around a graveyard and Julie Delpy kind of talks, I think she waxes philosophical about the idea of death, and like, I think she points at a couple graves and goes, oh, there's some important people that died here. And in the script, it's the same stuff that she's saying, it's just worded ever so slightly differently. But most of the time, the script is actually portrayed verbatim in the film, which really, really surprised me. And going forward into Before Sunset and Before Midnight, Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke got writer's credits. And in Before Sunrise, I believe that they actually had a big hand in actually shaping bits of the script and tweaking the dialogue to fit the way that their natural inflections and that kind of thing. Because if you look at them actually talk as actors and not as characters, they're not actually doing anything vastly different. They're not putting on weird accents, they're not like being someone that's like larger than life or completely different from what they are like in real life. You see videos of them together and they are basically the same, which I think is what makes film so beautiful, is that you can capture a reality that you can't do in any other medium, like with a book or a novel, for instance. You can sit there and listen to a piece of conversation happen on the bus and you can write it down. And it can be really interesting, and it's a really good way of actually seeing what is being said. But I think, and obviously you can't just record random people in public having conversations, but you can kind of write it down in a book. But if you can get 2 people that have really good chemistry together in a film and put them down and just get them talking, you will create magic. I wanted to create a film that was essentially my own little rip-off of Before Sunrise. It was going to be called The Nukes We Bought. And it was about, so I wrote a script and it was basically this very young couple that were all in love and all that sort of stuff. They were playing Fallout 3 on their TV. And it was quite late at night. They were drinking and smoking and stuff like that. And so they were a little bit high and a little bit drunk and that kind of thing. And it was quite late. And they just had this mad idea to just go out and kind of role play and walk around town as if they were living in an apocalypse. And so they kind of just like did little in-jokes to each other, and like they went to a tower block because like they could see it from really far away, and they ventured their way over there and they snuck in, they got to the very top of it and they looked out over the city and they kind of talked about the idea of if the apocalypse kind of came. And the film, I remember the film's ending was, they were walking back home and it was dawn at this point, and they walked past some garages and there was a garage band inside that were just playing a jam, and some kind of old 50s kind of music reflecting the way that the old-timey 50s Americana music is used in the Fallout franchise. And they just sit outside and they just have a bit of a dance together, and that was the end of the film. And that was a short, and then I made another script which was expanded that into a larger film, like a feature-length thing. But I didn't like it as much because I set out to make a film that had no conflict. I didn't want a film with conflict. And the conflict in Before Sunrise is that they clearly love each other, but they can't see each other again after the train thing. And they do kind of talk about, we could try and work out a way that we can meet here again at a certain time and do this and do that. But they kind of say, well, look, people do that, but they never actually go and actually meet the person again. even if we try to make this magic happen again, it just might not come. And then at the very end of the film, spoilers, they kind of go, no, fuck it, we need to like figure out a way to, and they really quite desperately kind of come up with this idea, like 6 months from this day now exactly, and then they come up with like, okay, November 14th, come to this exact spot, I'll be here at 3 p.m. And they both live in separate countries from Vienna. She lives in France, he lives in America. And so they come up with this mad idea to actually go there and do this, and just meet up at that spot in 6 months from now, because they clearly love each other so much that they just want to see each other again, and the fact that they can't really is what made me cry so many times at that film, and is what's so emotive about that film. The scene where they go into a bar and Ethan Hawke sweet talks the barman into giving them a bottle of wine for free is just so cool. Like, because obviously that kind of thing, like, you might watch in a cynical mindset and say that would never happen, but you ever been in the honeymoon phase with someone and just stuff happens that just doesn't normally happen in real life? But it is real life, so it obviously does happen, and you try and work that out, and it's sort of like the universe smiles upon you and just says, look man, you've had a hard time of it, here's someone that you get on really well with, and you're making them happy at the same time. Oh yeah, let's just chuck some, like, you know, hundreds and thousands, some sprinkles and like the cherry on top. Like, recently I lost my tobacco pouch, which has some sentimental value to me, right? I'm not going to get into why it has sentimental value to me, but I lost it and I was a little bit sad by that. And then the very next day, I found a full packet of tobacco on the side of the road. And I just thought, oh, cool, brilliant, I suppose. So that sort of thing doesn't normally happen. And so it's like life is just saying, look man, things will work itself out. Here's some good stuff for you, because you're pretty great. And I want to keep that magic for reality. And the idea of seeing it again in the film Before Sunrise, just, I worry that if I see it again, I'll lose that bit of magic somehow. And I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's a stupid fear, and maybe this all seems a little bit ridiculous. Man can't watch his favorite film, but I don't know. There's something special about that film that I don't want to lose and that I don't want to update, and I want to keep it as a moment in time. And I don't think I'll watch it again for quite a while yet. I was ready to, and I typed it into the, you know, the Netflix thing, and I looked, and it wasn't on Netflix, so I started sort of going on Amazon and trying to find the DVD, and I kind of thought, no, hang on, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. So I tabbed out and I did something else instead. And it made me quite happy to sort of think, well, I had such a beautiful thing with that film. I had a similar thing, by the way, with the film The World's End, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost thing for the last film, the Cornetto trilogy. That film I don't have a problem watching again. For some reason, I don't have the same problem with that. Maybe because it's a little bit less sentimental and a bit more comedy, but it's also a very sentimental film, and it's a film about, you know, the idea of growing old and sort of not being a kid anymore and that kind of thing, which, you know, being in your 20s kind of helps quite a lot. It's a very important message when you're actually growing up. And like when I first watched it, I was 16, and I really resonated with whatever Simon Pegg's character's called. I really resonated with him, and I thought he was someone to look up to because I was 16, I was his age at the time he looks back on. And as I watched it again and again, I've watched that film about 10 times as well. And my most recent watching of it was a few months ago, and I saw it and I kind of thought, God, Gary King is an arsehole. He's a dickhead. Why did I ever like him, you know? But in that film, it was all right because that was kind of the point. I feel like with Before Sunrise, that wouldn't be the point. I don't want to think of Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy as dickheads. I don't want to think of them as bad people or unlikable characters. I want to remember them the way that I remember them, as the foundation of some of the greatest dialogue that has ever come out of cinema, bar none. And yeah, I give Richard Linklater, Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy my massive thanks for inspiring me so much. They've basically inspired everything that I've done since with that film in terms of how I try and approach naturalistic dialogue. Certainly they've inspired the Jonny Mozza Lessons in Confidence film, and they will continue to inspire things after that. I still want to make that Nukes We Brought film, and I've actually updated the idea to be about sort of chronicling, kind of like Boyhood, but for the Richard Linklater film where it's filmed over 12 years and about you know, someone growing up. I like the idea of that, but with two people, a couple that start off quite young and then they get to maybe their mid-30s, and over that course of time, it's done through the lens of geopolitical. Basically, the Nazis come back in Germany, is my idea, and they invade England. And the idea is that they start, like, this couple meet in a really happy time in the world, and the general world circumstances get worse and worse and worse until it's the point where they need to leave London and actually just drive up to Scotland to escape the Nazis, and then full-on nuclear war breaks out at the very, very end. So it kind of works in that kind of way. Maybe I'll do it chronologically in a Boyhood sort of way. Maybe I'll do it non-chronologically with a couple different actors playing the characters at different times, and maybe expand the time frame so it goes from 20s to them in their 70s, something like that. I don't know how I'll approach it, but I know it's a film I do want to make probably after the Jonny Mozza Lessons in Confidence. I'll probably take some time off, actually, like in between Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence and starting up that film. Knowing me, I actually won't do that. But, you know, I wanted to make this video just about how brilliant Before Sunrise is. It's one of my favorite ever films, and I really recommend you watch it. Yeah, check it out. Also check out its sequels, Before Sunset and Before Midnight. Before Midnight is a film I actually struggled to watch, but in a very different way, almost in the opposite way, where it feels like the film itself is trying to ruin the characters for me in the same way that I can't watch Before Sunrise again. It feels like Richard Linklater almost agrees with me and made Before Midnight as a response to that. Not a response to me, but a response to his prior film. But it is a beautiful fucking film, and like, in a way it's the best of the trilogy, but in a way it's also not. And I feel like you can't give a best or the worst. My favorite remains Before Sunset. It's got a nice balance of like the really nice, soppy, happy, like holistic world kind of making you feel at home kind of thing of Before Sunrise, but a little bit less strawberry lace and a little bit more tiramisu. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Please check out Before Sunrise, and yeah, I love making films. I love just seeing them. Well, I need to watch more of them, to be honest. Yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Have a good rest of the day. Take care. Love you all. Yeah. I thought I'd do a video about something really happy in a really miserable looking place, but that's winter for you. Also, sorry about the wind noises. I can't really do anything about that. God, can you stop it for a bit? Pack it in. Bloody. You can't say that about God. You can't say bloody, because that's a swear. Don't say that. Yeah. Oh, now I've got to get up. Oh, God. Okay, hang on. How am I going to do this? Oh, there's a branch there. Oh. Ooh. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how things can go wrong and how do you kind of work around them. So today I was just filming a video. I did a video about making a song, so it was a bit of a different kind of video. And this is meant to be the end where the lav mic goes, so you can see I've got this lav mic right here. What I did was I was wearing it, right, and I pulled it out of my phone, because if you could see, they go into my phone, right? I pulled it out of the phone, then it was kind of dangling sort of down here, right? And I was sat down and I went to get up, so I pushed, which meant that the distance between my foot and where the lav mic was attached, which is up here on the upper chestal area, you see how it extends? So yeah, I have utterly fucked it, if you can tell. Here's the microphone on its own. Hello everybody. Yeah, great, you see? Also, I've fucked the base plate on my tripod. This camera that this is being recorded on now, the base plate for connecting things to a tripod head like this, there's a sliding plate. Yeah. Now I've threaded the nut on the inside, or however you describe it. So yeah, I've had to buy a new one of those, which is 20 quid. I'm gonna have to buy a new one of these, which is 50 quid, so that's 70 quid. So you can make expensive mistakes, and you want to try and avoid those things, but these are things that come with the natural wear and tear. Like, this was genuinely quite irritating. But the thread on the base plate of the Canon, my camera, I can't be too annoyed at it, because look, I bought this camera coming up on 4 years ago now, and this camera's been all over the country, it's been all over London, and when I carry it, I basically just carry it on the tripod, and then I hold it either by the tripod, kind of like this, like a machine gun, like a minigun, or I kind of over my shoulder like a hobo. Neither of these ways is particularly standard for these kind of cinema cameras. It's not really recommended that you do it like this. I haven't actually damaged the screw at all. The screw's completely fine. It's just the thing on the inside is completely threaded. And I always feel like, because there's two things on the inside, right, that you can screw things into. I've only had one in. As you can see, there's only one on this, right? But if I had two, I feel like it would have more connection points and more, because it's quite a large camera. This isn't like a mini DSLR, this is a big, bulky camera. I feel like if you had more, you would be able to work with it a bit more, because you would have more area covered with connection points. So, as you can see, things are kind of going a little bit wrong, and these are things that are going to happen. Things will go wrong in your journey as a creator. Sometimes you'll have more resources, sometimes you won't have as many. I don't have a tripod, well, I do have the tripod, but I can't use the tripod at the moment, so for all intents and purposes, I don't have a tripod at the moment, right? Which meant I had to work around things. So if you see, this camera is literally just on that. It's just gonna be placed down here, okay? Back there, and back I come. So you can see, I don't have nearly as much in the way of resources as I had before, but sometimes I had more resources than others, and other times I have less resources, and that'll be the case for you as well. You know, sometimes you've got money, more money than usual, so you use that money to buy something that is useful to you. Sometimes your laptop's broken, so you don't have a laptop. You know, sometimes your camera doesn't work, so you just got to use your phone. Sometimes your lav mics won't work, so you're going to have to resort to just using the thing on your phone, or you have to figure out some other method of doing it, or you have to buy some really cheap, crappy one off eBay or something like that. Sometimes you are going to come into challenges, and it's up to you as an endurance master of your craft to get through these challenges and overcome these hurdles, and to make the most of them, because, you know, I feel like this video is made more special by the fact that I have lost some resources because of my own stupidity and just overall wear and tear. You know, these things are going to happen, and it's up to you to figure out your own ways of dealing with them. You know, I've ordered a new base plate, so that's coming on the 7th. So come Friday, I believe, or sorry, Thursday, you're going to start seeing videos with the tripod again. So standard videos will kind of continue from there. For now, I'm using the Canon 6D sometimes as well, which is, it's not quite as good quality because it's a DSLR compared to this, which is a Super 35 Cine. I actually, do you know what I should do while I have this opportunity, is I should do a review of the camera. Yeah, I'll do that at some point. Anyway, I think the lesson I want you to take away from this video is that, you know, you'll always come into hurdles, you'll always come into issues, and it's just up to you to just work around them. Because if you go on any of your favorite creators' pages or YouTube channels, or look at their discography, their filmography, etc., there'll be some albums or videos or films or whatever where they had more of a budget, they had more resources and stuff like that, and it was more of a professional high-end product. And then you'll have other ones which are more scrappy and more lo-fi and more down-to-earth, and where they have less resources. And it's not necessarily that these ones, the professional ones, are always the best ones. Sometimes these are the better ones. Sometimes the conflict of not having the resources to be able to tell your story sufficiently makes your story more interesting as you try your best to scream in space when no one can hear you, and just go forward and actually just create stuff. No matter what you've got. You might not have a Super 35 Cine fucking camera. You can get them on eBay for fairly cheap, but you don't have to. You can use your phone. The phones are brilliant. If you want to use a lav mic with your phone, I'm sure there's a way of figuring it out. I haven't bothered. And if there isn't a way of doing it, then you can get these really tiny, cheap little shitty cameras off Amazon for like 20 quid, or you can get some knockoff old phone from the cash converters or something for like 30 quid. And you know, or take one of your old phones and just use that for the camera, or something like that. Or even hell, just borrow your roommate's phone or your parents' phone or whatever, just for that like space of time where you use it. Because yeah, you're not always going to have the resources to do stuff. And if you let that get in the way of your creativity and your flow state, then you will get down on yourself about your lack of ability, despite the fact that it's not anything to do with your ability, it's your resources that are the issue. You can make a masterpiece for £0. And you can also make absolute garbage for millions. So is it about finding a middle ground, or is it about finding your overall comfort zone? Or is it about being flexible with what you're given? Because sometimes you'll have the resources and sometimes you won't. Sometimes things will work in your favor, sometimes they won't. That's the game of life. And if you play the game of life, you keep playing it and playing it and playing it and just rolling the dice at the next project and the next project and the next project and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, you will learn your craft and you will improve by doing rather than studying the theory. Because look, I think if you've watched any of my other videos, you've probably figured out by now that I don't know theory or anything like that. So I am not preaching education, I am preaching for self-learning experience. I'm advocating for you to go out and experience these things rather than to learn about them and then go and experience them, because you get so much more fulfillment just rolling through life as fast as you can. That's the way that I like to do things, and when I don't do things that way, I look up at a version of myself that does do things that way or used to do things that way. You know, for the past couple of years, I wasn't making nearly as much stuff as I do now. You know, I wasn't making 2 videos a day. I wasn't, you know, pumping out albums or films or anything like that. I kind of didn't do very much, you know, and that got me down, because that's sort of me, and I need to create stuff in order to feel right and fulfilled and so on, and stuff like that. So you kind of come to a point where you find your comfort zone and then you push at the boundaries, you carve a space out for yourself and you use that space to create works of art or music or film or whatever is in your wheelhouse, and whatever you like, and let it be you. Let everything about it be truly you, down to a T, because you're a way more interesting person than you think you are. You're a really fascinating individual, even if you get down on yourself, even if you think, you look back at awkward conversations where you didn't really have much to say with someone that you didn't really know, and you kind of think, oh God, I'm a terribly uninteresting person. You're not. And if you give yourself the chance, you will see that you're not, and that you're way better than you might think. So yeah, the overall takeaway from this, I think, is don't let your limitations conquer you, conquer your limitations. That's going to be all from me today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Have a great rest of the year. Yeah, Christmas period's coming up. We're going to keep working at the Jonny Mozza film, and things are going to go well. So thank you all so much for watching this. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hey up, everybody. My name's Jonny Mozza, director Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the idea of commodifying your life for content, which is, in a bit of a cynical way, what I'm doing at the moment, really. I mean, what are these videos if not me just wandering around rambling my soul out onto the camera, right? Think about this. In a technological sense, anyone out there could take all of these videos, compile my voice into a series of data sets with various moods, emotions, and so on and so forth. I've done a bit of anger, I've done a bit of sad, I've done a bit of happy, etc., right? Put all of that in some kind of AI algorithm sort of thing, and then just make my voice say whatever it wants. You could have my voice say all sorts of things that I would never agree with. And what am I to do about it? Because I've commodified my life for the sake of YouTube money, right? That's basically what this is, essentially. And every sort of person on the internet that you follow that has a bit of a following or whatever, that makes videos or streams or whatever, they're all doing it. Every single one of them. And they all grapple with this idea of like, how do we take the fact that, one, this is a job, even if it's a side hustle, it's still a job, it's something that you do semi-professionally, right? You combine that with the fact that you have a private life outside of this. Particularly if you're doing the sort of thing that I'm doing, which is the whole earnest sort of thing, where part of what you like about these videos is the fact that you think that I'm sort of being myself. And I basically am. Like, I mean, I'm being a bit more dictatorial about it, and I'm enunciating my words a little bit more, and I'm not mumbling and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, in certain conversations, you know, I'll be a little bit different. I'll be a bit different with my friends, then a little bit different with my parents, etc., right? As we all are, because we're not all completely one note. If you meet me in real life, I might not be exactly like this. I might be having a bad day. I might be a little bit, yeah, you're right. Yeah. You might not even be able to pick that up on the mic. That's how much I'm mumbling, right? So I think every big or small creator, YouTuber that is doing this on a level where they're making any kind of money from this, because I am now technically making money on this. So no longer, I think, are my opinions and the way that I preach things, are they completely innocent anymore? Because now I have money behind me from one of the biggest companies in the fucking world, Google, right? And like, I'll probably take sponsorships. I'm not someone that will say, ooh, no, I'm too pure for sponsors. That's not necessarily, I'm not going to take some bloody scam thing. I'm not just going to promote any old shite, but I'll still take some sponsorships at some point. I'll you know, monetize this channel in various ways. Like, the idea is to make money, and I don't think you should hide that fact, because every fucking YouTuber does it. The only difference is that some of them won't tell you that they're doing it for money, right? And it's not like I will sell various aspects of the authenticity of these videos for the sake of money. I wouldn't do that, because I do have some level of responsibility with this platform to use it for good, right? And I started thinking, like, I have like, what, 5,500 subscribers now? I've got like 800 returning viewers according to the analytics, which means that's people that return to each video, pretty much all of them, and they comment and they're fans and all that sort of stuff, right? So I've got people that will follow this and listen to what I have to say. So should I be using this platform to promote good causes? Well, in a way, yes, I should. That would be the good moral thing to do, because it would help, you know, all the hungry people out there that are out there in the world. It would help all the people that are being impoverished or stuck in war zones or whatever, right? There's loads of horrible stuff going on in the world, and I could use this platform to try and, you know, quell some of it, even if it's like just helping one person. That would be good. But at the same time, you know, when you're watching TV and the adverts come on and it's like, oh, this starving child in Africa is so sad and it needs your help. And it's like, shut the fuck up. I don't care. And it's like, obviously you do care about like the fact that there's starving people in the world, and that makes me feel terrible. But I don't want to feel terrible right now. I want to feel happy and watch some dumb shit on the internet, you know? I don't want to think about the fucking wars that are going on, the genocides that are going on, and all the bloody starving people, the billions of people that are going hungry right now. But that's from a place of privilege where I can actually say that and not give a shit, right? So should I be using the platform to promote more good causes? And I sort of sat and I thought about that, and it's kind of, well, yeah, but you don't want to YouTubeify yourself either, because he goes on, he's always banging on about something, isn't he? Radiohead has started doing it. They bang on about whatever the new cultural issue is. And if you do that, you end up getting sucked in, because there's so many of them. There's so many of these issues that are going on. If you talk about one, then you get done for not talking about the other. And there's all of them. If I try and talk about all of them, that one means I've got to research more, which I don't have time for. I'm making videos and I'm making films and I've got life to live, right? And two, it also means that it ends up introducing yourself into this endless fucking culture war where there's people on both sides that are annoyed at the other one for supporting this and not supporting that. And like, I've done a video all about that specific topic on trying to stay apolitical while still having beliefs and core values, because I do think that those things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. Like, I, for instance, am on the left side of politics, and I will stand by my politics on that side. But at the same time, I will try and tune out the overwhelming amount of crap that gets fed onto you by this platform, YouTube, right? And all the other ones, all the Twitters and the Facebooks, you scroll down and it's just like, Jesus Christ, it's depressing, the stuff that's coming out of these things, and the way everyone gets so agitated and arsy of one another. And I don't appreciate that, so I kind of want this to be a haven from that, but at the same time, that means that I'm leaving random issues to be, you know, go unspoken about, right? So I don't know in terms of that And at the same time, if I have a platform and I say the wrong thing, not in terms of like being like offending someone or whatever, but I just mean in terms of giving the wrong advice, giving the wrong idea across, or maybe even if I just phrase what I'm saying poorly so that you take the wrong idea from it and that ends up impacting you in a negative way. I don't want to do that kind of thing, you know, because I'm just some guy. I get stuff wrong all the time, just the same way that you do, or that bloody they do, or whoever is out there, you know. And what am I going to do in regards to, say, if this channel really grows and grows and grows, and it gets, say, 1 million subscribers? Let's pray for that, right? You know, how am I going to? Because I feel like I'm understanding why YouTubers are the annoying way that they are, because it's this draw. Like I feel this negative sort of draw, almost this like black light that's trying to get me to be a bit more of this annoying, stereotypical, like, you know, smash that like button and all that bullshit, right? You know, I know I want to subscribe to this channel. I like the videos. I'm going to subscribe. You don't need to keep fucking telling me, right? It annoys me when people do that. So I never tell. I might talk, say, you know, leave a comment, right, about certain things. I might raise a question for the sake of it, for the sake of like. But then also, that's not totally innocent either, because I'm doing it to drive engagement, right? So nothing here is totally innocent, right? And this is me telling this to you quite honestly and earnestly, right? Which again is another form of manipulation. Everything every fucking YouTuber does to try and deceive you into forming this parasocial relationship is deceptive in some form, even if they have good intentions by it, right? And like, I can't now sit here and say I have good intentions. I do, but it's hard for me to say that because I'm here giving you the kind of insider look, at least what I think is the insider look, onto how these larger channels operate and how, not necessarily how they logistically operate, but how they emotionally operate and how they sort of see what's going on and how they think about the audience and the reason that they're making these videos and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, I do kind of start to understand it now. I understand why they put the, you know, the smash that like button bullshit on there. I see why they do the Mr. Beast style fucking thumbnails. I see why they do the, hey guys, all the fucking shouting and swearing and all that stuff. I kind of get it, right? Because I've had the impulse to try and do that for the sake of my own viewership and the sake of growing my channel, because that's what it's all about. It's all a fucking numbers game, right? Recently, I watched Animator versus Animation, the Green Influencer arc, which is a really shit title for it should have been called like Animation versus Influencers or something like that. But anyway, the whole point of it is there's these little stick figures that live in the desktop computer world, right? And they can press buttons, they can go on Chrome, they can play solitaire, all this sort of stuff, right? And one of them becomes a YouTuber and they start becoming this TikTok head and like they get really annoying about it and they start to alienate their friends because of the content that they're making. Not necessarily the content they're making, but how they're treating everything around them, right? That's kind of what is going on here. And he ends up isolating himself in a realm of numbers and analytics. And you know what? I felt myself doing that. I was at the pub the other day and I was looking at the analytics app on my phone and I said to my mate, I really need to uninstall this app because it's taken over my life. And he went, yep. Wasn't like a, no, don't worry about it. It was like a full, yep. Like clearly, yes, you are. So I've uninstalled the analytics app on my phone. It's still on the desktop computer and it's still on the laptop because I can't uninstall Chrome really, or because then I just get Internet Explorer and I just do it on that. You know, and I've uninstalled the app before and then re-downloaded it. And then uninstalled it again and re-downloaded it. So there's no necessarily escaping these numbers and this drive, because I know what each one of those fucking views means. It means that someone has bothered to click on this. I know what seeing 150 fucking search terms for one of my videos means. It means that people clearly like it so much they've gone out their way to Google it, and in some of those circumstances it's them watching it on their own. Some circumstances will be like, maybe you've got a mate round and you show them one of my videos. I met someone who, they said that they were a fan of my videos and they said they watched them with their boyfriend. Hello to them. They know who they are. And yeah, it's amazing to know that that is what each of those numbers and those bars on the fucking graph mean, right? But at the same time, it's very easy to get the fucking money eyes and to become very greedy about it. And I understand why they become so greedy about it now. The general YouTubers out there, you know how you find a YouTuber and they're very, very good, and then they sell out and they get worse and they become some really annoying personality, or they become a alt-right grifter or whatever, right? And they just become a generally unpleasant person. You're sick of them by that point, right? I worry that that would happen to me. I don't want to become like that because that feels like it would be me selling my soul, my personality, and I feel like I'm already selling my soul in a weird little way. So I try and grapple with this idea that there are so many people out there that are engaging with what I'm doing and that like and appreciate and find inspiration from what I'm doing. There's been people who've said that they paint to my videos, that people that have made albums because of me, right? There are people that have like started to get their life back on track because of me, and like all sorts of positive experiences have come from me just walking around. Like the only way I make these videos, right? Do you know how I make them? Basically, I'm going to see a mate right now, right? I leave like 3 hours earlier than I need to, and I just wander around their local area and just do some videos. That's all this is. I've got a lav mic here, right? It's attached to the phone, right? And then I get back, edit it, quick little sync the audio and the video, put the 4 free overlays on the side. Let's get rid of those. See, that's what this looks like. Let's take the color correction off. That's what this looks like. You know, it's not that good, is it? It's all right, I guess. Let's put it back. There we are. And this is basically all it is. It's not really some mad special operation or anything like that. And you know, I want to keep it like this for as long as possible. I don't want to corporatize this. I don't want to turn it into some kind of big production house. But at some point, I'm going to have to register myself as self-employed because I'm starting to make enough money that I need to actually do that. So that's something that needs to actually happen. So it's already corporatizing by default, okay? And yeah, sure, registering yourself as self-employed isn't exactly the same as opening up a 500 square meter office in Shoreditch or anything like that, but it's one step on the path to success, my path to success, which is different from your path to success, which is different from one of the commenters' path to success that you might have seen. Your friends will have various ways of getting to success because some of them are doing like, I don't know, rising through the ranks of a retail job. Some of them might be getting into corporate stuff. Some of them might be doing this. I don't know, all sorts of things like that. And so if you're making videos like this and you're basically selling yourself and your voice to YouTube and the Google algorithm at large, right? I feel like the best way to take comfort in that is that you're not selling your soul necessarily to the company who have access and rights to repurpose and reuse your footage however they see fit. Neither is it to the, you know, the nasty, nefarious people that will be out there trying to manipulate what you say into something that you didn't mean. It's the people that take the inspiration, it's the people that find encouragement, and the people that start to set their lives right because of this. Or even if they just find some comfort. This is the nice thing, they like to sit down and eat some food, have their dinner while they're watching these, or maybe they listen to them while they go to sleep and it's a nice little voice in the ear or whatever, you know. Maybe you watch it while you're, like it's a nice voice in your ear while you're at the gym or you're on the bus or whatever, you know. Or maybe you just sit and you just get pissed and stoned and you watch these videos. I put out a poll and asked how people watch these videos and what circumstances what people watch these videos. And I think it was like 16% get pissed and stoned while they watch these videos. And I think like 40% do it while they're eating food or doing chores around the house. So if you're doing that, if you're hoovering, hello. It's hard to hear over the sound of the Hoover because, you know, it's quite loud. Unless you've got one of those new sort of automated Hoovers, you know, the ones that kind of whoosh, sort of around like that. But then you wouldn't need to do the hoovering, so I don't know why that'd be a big deal. So anyway, I feel like this video is starting to run its course, so I'll kind of wrap it up by just saying, I don't actually know who that was. I'm sure I do, but it's someone that's, oh, sorry. I'm sure I do know who that was, but it's just someone that's like kind of, you know, you met them once and you remember a bit of a face, but not totally. I don't remember a name. Maybe I met them at a pub or something like that. Not sure. Anyway, to wrap the video up, it's not that it feels like you're commodifying your life. It's that you get yourself down about this idea and you worry about it, and it's very easy to catastrophize and to see the worst. But at the same time, know that everything tends to work itself out to some degree, and that the issues that you're thinking of aren't really the issues that are the most important ones. And it'll be something that you can never anticipate that will become the real issue, right? What an ominous note to finish the video on. Yeah, don't worry about it because there's something way fucking worse over here. So, yeah, I suppose that's going to be it from me. Hope you managed to get something out of this. if you're a small creator that's started to get monetized, how are you grappling with the fact that now you have money behind you, you're no longer a completely innocent voice in this endless sea of voices, right? How do you cope with that fact? How do you learn and develop and grow into a person that can understand their position? So that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a good rest of the day, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye. I do have to look because I want to make sure the camera's still there, because it's a bit freaky, you know? Yep, still there. Because there's no one sitting behind the camera, it's just sat on the table. Alright, that's good. I felt like a long one. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this camera angle because I am fucking terrified. I'm watching my camera, and I'll tell you what, it might not look like much, but please, honestly, try to understand that this is quite a long way down. It's a long way down, and there's no guardrail here, and the camera is just sat there. I've managed to find a bit where there's like, it's double the thick. Notice there's two parts kind of join, but oh my God, I am really genuinely quite scared. And I feel like this is a good moment to sort of say that danger can often look quite mundane, you know? Some of the scariest things are just quite plain looking. And honestly, I'm shitting myself. I am absolutely fucking terrified. And I don't know how better to communicate that than, I suppose at the end of the video, I'm gonna have to pick the camera up and I'm gonna have to show you. I am not doing that. God, that felt so weird to even just do that on its own. I hope that this can give you an idea of sometimes as filmmakers, we kind of got to take little risks. Not this, don't do this, this is fucking stupid. But I think in general, it is good to take risks. This is going to be a very short video, I don't care, but this is going to be a very short video, completely incoherent. But I feel like as long as you can sort of see that risks are something that need to be taken from time to time, like, you know, when I've been doing films in the past, particularly if you're acting, you know, like if you want to cry, for instance, I used to like rub onions, not in my eyes, but like right like that. You know, I used to sort of try and actually beat myself up. I used to tell actors, just punch me in the face for real. That was fucking stupid. So yeah, I think maybe there's a video about stupidity, not knowing what to do, and yeah. No, I don't like this. I really don't like this at all. I hope you can get a sense from my face that this is fucking terrifying. And I think this video is just gonna be 90% me just saying this is fucking terrifying. So yeah, as filmmakers, we kind of got to try things, and some of those things will be scary, and you know, we kind of got to do them anyway. But here is the lesson. Learn the difference between intelligent risks and stupid risks. What I'm doing now is a stupid risk because this video isn't any good. The risk to reward ratio is all off, you know? And like, I'm not really meant to be here either. That's why I'm looking over my shoulder in case security comes over. But it is a cool shot, I think. It would be a better shot if I had a tripod. Oh, I wish my tripod was still around. But sometimes limitations put you into these weird situations, and that's kind of okay. As filmmakers, sometimes we got to take risks, and it's about whether you are willing to take that risk. I, for some reason, am willing to take this risk, and I think from now on, I'm not going to take any more risks like this. No more getting punched in the face for me, no more getting thrown in canals, no more, you know, sprinting uphill for like 45 minutes 10 times. No more of any of that sort of thing. No more pretending to get stabbed. Yeah, all of these things are far in the past. And for the future, sensible risks. Because I think that's, oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God. Right, I hope, I don't give a shit, the video is done. How long is this? Because have I not gotten through to you yet that this is scary? This is a scary thing to be happening, right? And as filmmakers, like, or just creatives in general, that touches and that goes all the way over there. I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. Okay, so, yeah, right. So I suppose to close this video off, to close the idea that I'm trying to convey, risk happens, you take risks. I've taken risks on other people's film sets, so, you know, part of the reason that I cast myself as Jonny Mozza in this Jonny Mozza film is so that I can fuck the health and safety, because I'm not unionized. I can do what I want and I can't sue myself. So, oh God, they're all so small, the people. Jesus Christ. I'm only like 4 stories up, but they're so small. Oh God. But it's a straight drop as well. Okay, right. I kind of want the video to keep going because I don't want to go and pick the camera up, but I have to. I'm going to do it from this side. That way there is a guard. There is a solid guardrail. So excuse the arm. Okay, right, right. Oh my fucking God. Okay, okay. Does that give you a fucking idea? That's what that was sat on. That's what that was sat on. Right there, where that lens cap is, okay? That was it. This was the setup. This fucking lens cap. It's a gorgeous place, this. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, tell me that's not cool, but it's not fucking worth it. Jesus Christ. So, anyway, fuck, I'm gonna somehow figure out how to do this. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you have any thoughts on the sheer utter lack of intellect and care for my craft that has gone into the making of this dog shit video, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, learn what risks are appropriate to take, what ones aren't appropriate to take. You can probably see right up my nostrils. This is okay. I can deal with this because it's just a little drop. It's not a big one. So I'm going to leave the shot here for a bit, and thank you very much for watching the video. Have a good rest of the day. Take care. Love you all, and fuck that. God. I know it didn't look like much. It didn't look like much, but seriously, that was intense. I have no idea what message you're meant to take away from this. I have no idea, but I feel like whatever the message is, it has made itself abundantly fucking clear. Oh my fucking God. Look at that. Look at all the pigeons that have sat there. Oh, all of them. There's so many. Can you see them? I feel like you can't. Hang on. Whoa, there we are, there we are, there we are. They've all flown over. They're all sitting where I was sat. Jesus. Oh, that was cool. Okay. I feel like I am just pissing about now, but yeah, I'm gonna get the fuck out of this car park. Take care, everybody, for the second time, and have a good rest of the day. Love you all. Leave your comments below about whatever the hell this was. And yeah, I will see you around at some point soon. Tomorrow, I suppose, because I do these videos twice a day. If you can't tell, I'm running out of ideas. Bye.
What do you believe the differences are between big studio productions and indie sort of film productions?
What are the differences between big film sets and the small ones? Can you narrow down the question a little bit, because there's so many facets of that?
Well, I would say in terms of how much sort of creative freedom you get to express yourself, do you find that you get more of that on a smaller film set rather than a larger one?
Having been both someone who runs like my own sets, has worked as like camera, sound runner, actor on other people's small sets, comparing that to being like a camera assistant or grunt runner, COVID marshal, whatever, you do definitely get more creativity. But at the same time, I think it kind of comes down to, you know, you've got this level of creativity. Like if you're not running your own set, but you are on a small film set, you do have a decent amount of creative freedom, because you can literally just say to the director, oh, hey, I've got this idea. And then they can kind of be like, oh, cool, or nah. If you try and do that on a big film set and you're just a grunt, you are not getting back on that film set. So, but then at the same time, people don't go on big film sets to be a grunt, to have creative freedom. I think people know not to do that. It is just a job to them. I think that's why I dislike the big film sets, because they are just this sort of, you can go past if you want, yeah. It all fits in with the theme. Have a good day, yeah? No worries, take care. So you got, I feel like that was a mess of an answer, to be honest.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
All right, did I actually answer the question in that? I think I did.
I think you did.
Basically, yes. Basically, yes.
I'm going to crop that to just basically yes. Right, so in one of your videos, or maybe even in multiple videos, you talk about how you appreciate quantity over quality.
Yeah.
I guess not just in filming, but in general things in life. And how would you say that you're implementing that into the film that you're making now? Are you just shooting absolutely everything that you can?
Yes. Yes and no. Closer to yes. I don't know, in terms of the quantity over quality thing, I feel like a hypocrite by preaching something that I don't practice. Like, I talk about it a lot because it's an ideal that I want to get to. And I think that is the best way to make stuff. But it's not the way I feel like I'm currently making stuff, it's the way I feel like I'm trying to make stuff by doing the 2 videos a day and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, when it comes to like the creative works, like I've just made an album, right? I've spent a year doing this album. That's ridiculous. It's only 7 songs. What's that, like a month and a half or more for each song? You know, like probably closer to 2 months. So, you know, and then I've done films where like they've spent 4 years in post and stuff, and all this kind of stuff forced me to reconcile with the quantity over quality thing, because it is correct. Yeah.
I was gonna say, so with your YouTube channel,
Yeah.
do you see that sort of as an extension of the film? Because obviously it's called like Jonny Mozza, Lessons in Confidence, or is it a completely sort of separate project that you'll carry on with after the film is made as well?
That's a very good question, that one. You can keep that bit in for the edit. That way the teacher sort of goes, oh, he said that was a very good question, that. And you can keep that bit in so you can make it all meta. But yeah, I think in terms of that, it is separate. Well, do you know what it was originally meant to be? I was never meant to be doing 2 videos a day about all this inspirational stuff, right? Originally it was just gonna be like vlogs for the film. So I did the first couple that were literally just like me talking about the film in various ways. And then I did one on central London, and that kind of went well. And I realized people like the ones where I do these like really pretentious, like indie filmmaker, bloody, you know, titles. Like, filmmaking isn't a business, it's an art. It's like, oh, shut up. But they like it. So I just made more of them, and I'll keep making more as long as people want them, because I like seeing the little like, oh, you've really inspired me kind of things. And you know, knowing that I'm actually helping people out is really cool. It's nice, it's satisfying. I like being able to give something back. It's fun.
Nice. And is that sort of the same thing that you want people to take from the film itself? Is that the message that you want to bring with the film, all of those sort of positive things? Because I know that your character, Jonny, is kind of a... I think you described him as he's sort of like, not a liar, but he's sort of worming his way into things that he's not necessarily qualified for. And is the overall message of the film meant to be, I guess, about just trying things anyway? Like, is that the message?
Not really with that one.
Wrong way?
He does. I think actually it's kind of almost the opposite message, because he does try, but he fails. And that is the thing with trying, is you are going to fail sometimes. And I hope with these videos I'm not misleading people into thinking that you can just like go your way through life, just, I'm trying not to swear, but doing stuff like that, and just you'll succeed every time. You won't. Like, I got lucky, you know, and other people get lucky, you know, it's just being picked by the YouTube algorithm. So I don't know, Jonny Mozza, his whole thing is about the romanticization of the past, and how you need to be able to come to accept the world that you live in now, and come to peace with that. Because, you know, like, yeah, sure, if you sit and listen to Led Zeppelin and the Doors and the Sex Pistols all day, you are gonna be like, ooh, the 70s was so much better, I live in the worst time, you know, and you'll get yourself down about it and you'll shut out the modern world. But, you know, look at all the great things that are going on now. in terms of like the music scene, and like some of the best music's coming out now. Some amazing films are coming out. A24 like is a really cool picture house. You got so many, like the folk filmmaking community, and you got so many cool things that are happening now. And then loads of stuff that I don't care about, that other people care about. So you got so much stuff going on that, you know, that's what Jonny Mozza is kind of about. It's about embracing the present and being satisfied with your lot, essentially.
Nice. So I was interested in the sort of music aspect, because obviously Jonny is a musician, you're a musician, you're playing the songs that came from the movie. And did the music sort of come first and then the filmmaking, or do they sort of go hand in hand with each other?
Well, I haven't written any music for the movie. I'm writing music just for, like, myself. I'm writing music about stuff that I care about. And then I just think, because I don't want Jonny Mozza to be someone who can't play. I don't want the joke to be that he's talentless at playing, because I think that would be kind of dull. I think what would be more interesting if he is good, but he wants everyone to know it, kind of thing. Because, like, I think I've come to accept I'm all right at guitar, you know, but it's at the same time, if you do go around and are just like, yeah, I'm the best, you know, look at me, all that kind of thing, then people are going to hate you anyway, compared to someone like Oliver in the film, who is, he can't really play the bass, but he's a really nice person, so he ends up coming out on top. Despite having less technical talent, it's his niceness and likability that is what's holding him up and make people want to stick around him.
I like that. I enjoy that message. The next question I was going to ask you, and let me know if you find this very, very dull, but what is your favourite movie?
Before Sunrise.
Before Sunrise, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, Richard Linklater. Do you know Dazed and Confused, Slacker, or anything? Slacker's a really good film. But yeah, Before Sunrise, it's... Shut up. It won't actually get those anyway, really. I mean, I've done videos where I shout at the planes anyway. But why Before Sunrise is one of the best movies ever made. First off, Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke have such beautiful chemistry together. Their story is so romantic and so nice. And the best scene of it, in my opinion, it's a really dull-looking shot. It's literally just the corner of this really unset designed room. They go into a record shop and they go into the listening booth and they put on this thing. And like they're sat there, pretend like, you know, a woman is sat here, right? And we've got a bit of chemistry, but we haven't sort of said anything yet, you know? So it's kind of like a bit of this. And then she looks over. And then, you know, she looks over and I kind of look back. And then she looks over and you kind of look away again. And that's one of my favorite scenes, in just one long prolonged shot that goes on for like a minute and a half. No dialogue, no nothing, just as the music plays in the background. It's so sweet, it's so nice. It's a film I've watched probably about 10 times, and it makes me cry every single time. It's just so nice. And then Before Sunset is just as good as well. And Before Midnight is a really good film, but it's so depressing because I see them as just such a beautiful couple. It's so nice, like, you know. I'm not like a mega like romance film kind of guy, but that one, yeah, it's good.
Nice.
It's good.
The next question I was going to ask you about then is...
It's relatable as well.
What, the movie?
No, Before Sunrise, yeah. Because it's all about the conversational aspect. Like, it's not about like, you know, long prolonged scenes of them like, it's all just like talking and just like getting to know each other as friends. Because that's what love is, really. It's being able to talk to someone for like 9 hours with no awkward breaks in the conversation or no nothing, and just feeling like you're completely in sync with one another. You know, it's not about like, you know, the lovey-dovey sort of stuff. That's like the cherry on top. That's the icing on the cake. But you know, you can't just eat icing because you'll get sick.
Do you like realism in films then, in terms of, do you want things to be like how they are in the real world? If you're saying
yes
like,
and no.
you like that conversational thing because that's how it actually is.
Yes and no. It does depend, because like, you know, some films can be good for like escapism, and like, you know, I like some sitcoms like Fawlty Towers isn't particularly realistic, you know, or like Red Dwarf, not particularly realistic, but then I think where the realism is good is in the little personal struggles that go on. That's what attaches you to things. Like people like Wall-E, for instance, because they can feel a sense of humanity within him, even though he doesn't talk, and even though none of that is real in any sort of way. But it also does have the message about this is what the future could possibly hold for us if we, don't take good enough care of the planet. So as long as the film can make you feel connected to the world in some capacity, I think that it is good. I think that's why most fantasy films tend to try and hark to some sort of culture on planet Earth, like Lord of the Rings is trying to take from like old Norse mythology and stuff like that, or Star Wars is trying to take, I don't know, I don't like Star Wars particularly, but like, yeah, I'd say it's important to me. I like films of realism, and I think everything that I like in particular has realism in it, but I wouldn't say it's necessary for like everyone. Some people might feel differently and might want, escapism because they don't want to have the real world chucked back at them because they're already like, oh, Jesus Christ, I've got like my mortgage to pay, I'm behind on that, and like, the bank's coming to take the house away, and like, I'm gonna get fired, my wife's gonna leave me. It's like, they maybe don't want to be reminded of that in a film,
That's fair enough. What sort of advice would you give to someone who wants to make a film?
So let's say this person has no real resources. Let's go like bare minimum, right? Yeah. So Wakaliwood in Uganda, right? Like little village in Africa. Presume he's not making mad money, proper little village and all that. And the way that he did it, he had a little laptop and he had a little tiny digicam, like probably worse than what your phone is capable of doing, right? And he just went around and he would film like action scenes and have fun with like all of his community, and he would make these really insane films, and he turned that into what was fun about it. Like Who Killed Captain Alex, for instance, is so much fun because it's so balls to the wall, and it's also so cheap. That film cost, I don't know how much it cost, but it's definitely not more than like a couple £100. And you don't need mad budget to do stuff. And so what I would say to someone who wants to make a film is just like stop worrying about it, just make one that's like, who cares if it's bad, right? I'd rather you go out and make a bad film than to make no films, because imagine if everyone who made a bad film didn't bother to make a film. We would have barely anything, man. And sometimes it's nice to watch a bad film. It's nice to laugh at it. That's why people like The Room, people like Slop, like Transformers and all that sort of stuff. Those are all bad films. They're bad in all different ways. You need bad films, you need bad entertainment so you can have the good stuff. If everything was good, then you wouldn't have the point of comparison, So yeah, just make something that's, shut up. Just make something that sucks. And let all the little imperfections like that get into the film, because that's fun. At the end of the day. No, you can go through it if you want.
Don't worry about it.
No,
that's okay.
You have a good day, yeah? Do you want to maybe shift to another spot?
Yeah.
I feel like we've got quite a bit here.
How did you, Josh, first get into filmmaking?
Well, I was going to do game design at college with my friend because my friend was going to do it. And then I started looking into the industry, and I saw all the crunch time and all the abuse that goes on in that industry, and I thought, no, I might not do that. So I walked into the media room and signed up for that just because I thought, need something to do, and went in, and I didn't really care about it, to be honest, while I was first doing it at college. It was kind of after college when I started making my own stuff. I started off doing this really terrible YouTube channel, and then a slightly less terrible YouTube channel came afterwards, and then films came afterwards that started terribly and got better and better and better. And I kind of liked the whole bringing everyone together for a certain cause kind of thing, and just like, I don't know, like, it's fun to, you find yourself in weird situations, like the time when I found myself lying on top of a wardrobe in someone's house, just like holding a boom mic, or, standing on like in a Sainsbury's car park filming a guy that's like, ooh, doing a bit of rapping and all that sort of stuff, and you're all like moving around, and like people walk past you and they wonder what they're doing. So it's, I don't know, it's cool, yeah. Yeah, it's nice just creating stuff. I've always created stuff. I used to write books and like send them to the library and like get them to keep them in the library.
What, like your local library?
Yeah, I used to write books about, I had this one book about this couple of friends that went into space, and they were kidnapped by aliens and they needed to escape the solar system. And because my interpretation of the solar system is, you know, like the solar system planets thing where it's like Mercury, Venus, blah, blah,
like
blah.
you do when you're a kid.
Yeah, and they're all like right next to each other. So Jupiter's quite big, right? And I was like, oh, the spaceship's gonna have to really struggle to squeeze past Jupiter. So that's a whole plot point in that book. The book's gone, by the way, I'm never gonna find it again. And then just wrote dozens and dozens of books, made a world, that was cool. It was kind of like a sci-fi sort of, we colonized the entire solar system and then we started colonizing this other planet, but that other planet had like loads of like various life forms on it that were all fighting one another. It was basically just Mass Effect, like it was a rip-off of Mass Effect basically, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah. What would you say inspires you then? If anything.
People, I'd say. Met someone pretty cool recently who has inspired me quite a lot. So started writing a song, and like when you're inspired, like it all just comes out, and so that person has caused that inspiration, and that's someone I really like. It also goes the other way, where sometimes you make a film. This is going to make me sound really like a nasty person, but sometimes you make a film almost in spite of someone, to be like, ha, see, I can do it. Yeah, you know, like my old the guy who begged me to go on the HND course, which what a total con that was. Asterisk, not my legal opinion. But yeah, he kept begging me to go on it, and everything I heard about it is it was just terrible. And he was one of those that, like, you know when you can't trust someone because they smell too nice? Like they smell like godly all the time.
It's
and you're
suspicious.
Like, yeah, like obviously I don't want someone to reek, but like that was weird. And yeah, I didn't really trust him, so I had a big fight with him while I was talking about how he was ripping off his students. And then, yeah, I basically made my first film to say, you don't need any of what you're doing to make a film. Stop with all the nonsense that you're doing and just try this. And, you know, that's how I sort of make some films. You do something to almost spite someone, or not to spite someone, to sort of prove yourself a little bit, I'd say. You know, you're not an individual in a world full of mechanoids. You're one person in a sea of millions. So all you can do is just try and voice stuff, really, and get your own voice out there. That's it.
Nice. How many people are working on the film?
I'm gonna try and figure that out. Hang on.
Is there loads?
Hadid, Shivani, Oleg, Neve, Kimberly, John Henry, Lee Westwick, Toby, Oscar. There's more. This is why I didn't want to do the naming thing, but I've started now. There's more. Come on, think of them. Come on. Oh yeah, there's a couple editors. There's Shivani. How did I forget Shivani? Lydia. There's more.
Sorry, I have put you on the spot.
I'm struggling to name them all. There's a fair few.
That is a lot of people.
But I think what's important to note with this is that I am emphasizing small crews. So I'm doing crews of like 3, 4, 5 people max. So while there might be a lot of people on the film, it's different people each day. So I'm working that way because you get so much more done. You can move so much more effectively if you do smaller days with less people, because it's just so much more efficient compared to if you have a group that's so large that it can splinter off into its own subgroups. That's when I feel like you're going wrong, personally. Obviously you have to do it sometimes when you've got a big scene, but yeah. Do
you feel that sort of having those small groups and having groups change every now and again, does that sort of help you creatively? Like, because obviously I imagine you're getting all of these different ideas from people, and can that alter the film? Like, are you taking everyone's definitely contributions?
Like, my mate Toby, he's come up with some crazy good ideas that like he came up with this one idea that I'm not going to tell you because it's coming in later in the film, and I'm also not sure if I'm going to do it yet. But like, yeah, loads of people are bringing in their own ideas, and the reason that I made sure that this was such a simple film plot-wise was so that there was room to hang all the creative ideas on. I want people to come on this because I'm not paying people, you know? So what better way of, like, well, not really what better way of paying people than to let them be creative, but, you know, I don't know, just, I want people to feel like they're giving something more than just, like, grunt work, you know? I hate the idea that people just turn up, feel like they've got no input, and then just bugger off again, you know? I don't know, I feel like that wasn't a great answer. Let me try it again. So you kind of just say, like, oh, what was the question?
So the question was about, because you have these small crews working with you and sometimes they change around, if it's helpful because you're getting all of these different ideas, if people can contribute, and if that will therefore maybe change, you know, the film itself in some ways.
Yes, I would say, like, I really, well, some of the scenes are completely improvised for a start, and I work around the improv, and I fit improv into the script sort of thing. Like, here is some space where improv can go, and then you've got the beginning and the end, or you've got like a certain beat, like at a certain point in this improv, someone is going to get a phone call, and that kind of ends the improv and goes back into the script sort of bit, you know? Hey up.
Hello.
Come on, come here.
Hello.
So yeah, that's a piece of improv right there. But yeah, I want people to feel like they're able to engage with the film whilst they're working on it. I want people to come up with crazy shot ideas. I love when Oleg in particular, he's always coming up with some mad ideas. Every time we're about to wrap up, he's like, oh, sorry, I've just got one more idea. And he'll do that like 4 or 5 times. And I love it, because it's so, you know, it shows passion, it shows that he cares, and it shows that he's interested in what he's doing, which to me is a really positive trait. And I've seen that from many people working on this film and films in the past. I want people to feel like they've got something to add, you know? So I make sure that there's room for that. I don't go in with a complete vision. I go in with what I feel like I want, and then know that the world is going to change it. You know, if you know, you're about to go on a big night out and you have an idea of what it's going to be like, and then you go on the night out and you're really excited for it, and it turns out to be nothing like what you thought, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you leave the place you met earlier than you thought, or maybe the night went longer than it thought, or you met someone, or whatever, you know? Things don't go according to plan, so I don't establish plans, I establish just general bits, I suppose.
Nice.
Just make it up as you go along, really.
So you don't feel like, obviously this is your project, but you don't feel like I guess sometimes when you hear about film directors or different types of artists, they have a real personal relationship with the work, and therefore...
Well, don't get me wrong, I will shut down an idea if it runs contrary to what the film is trying to do. Like, you know, I'm not just like, you know, someone chucks in an idea that's contrary to what the film is trying to achieve. I won't take that on board. But, you know, I'll still hear it out, obviously. But yeah, you know, in terms of some directors, I feel like, I don't know, I really like the films of Kubrick, but I don't know, you look at some of the stuff that went on those sets, and I just think, look, The Shining, Clockwork Orange, it was really good, but was it worth that, you know, upset for the people that were working on it? I don't know. And I really like Clockwork Orange, it's one of my favourite films, but I don't know. You know, it's like, I suppose in a way, you know, do we all want oil somehow? You know, but we all use it. We all like our phones and our cups of tea in the morning and our radiators being on. But at the same time, we all recognise that it's kind of, there's some bad stuff going on there. So, yeah.
I'm going to do a 180. What is your favourite genre of film, if you have one?
I'd cheat the question and just say sitcoms.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite sitcom?
I'm Alan Partridge. Or Fawlty Towers. One of those two. Kind of switches. And then, like, obviously The Simpsons as well. So I'd say those 3. Malcolm in the Middle's good as well.
Oh, I loved Malcolm in the Middle growing up. Loved that movie.
It's just like, I like the light feeling. I don't particularly like the super heavy thing. I'm watching films that are really heavy and about super serious stuff, and it's like, ooh, this is depressing. And or you go the other way and you get really artsy stuff. Like I watched 2046, Wonka Wai, and I was kind of bored stiffless the entire way through it, if I've got to be honest. Like, I liked a couple bits, but I don't know, that kind of thing isn't for me. I like having fun. okay? I like having fun with films, so that's where I kind of go. It's not that I don't like, you know, the odd like serious film, you know, like Underground. Well, actually, no, Underground's kind of a comedy as well in a way. It tackles very serious themes. It's a Yugoslavian film, by the way, about World War II and like these people that are stuck in a bunker and like they get told that World War II is still going on for like ages. That's really good. But then Time of the Gypsies as well, that's really, really amazing. And those are really sad films. I don't know. I'm going to try and answer that in a more succinct way.
Okay.
I like movies that are simple. I like movies where you know how far you are in the film based on the plot. So say you've got a film where you start in room 1 and you've got to get to room 100, for a very basic example. Like The Platform, for instance. When they're at like level minus 250, you know you're near the end, you know? It's that kind of thing. Or like if you've got a horror film, when there's only 2 people left, you know you're near the end. I don't like films where you can't tell how far you are into it by what's going on. For someone who makes films, I don't watch very many.
Really?
Not really. I rewatch a lot of sitcoms and yeah, stuff like that. I've seen all the Alan Partridge, all The Office, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know much kino. Let's say kino therapy. What? That's cancer.
Did you say kino or chemo?
I said kino therapy, and then my brain went, no, that's not anything whatsoever.
I'm going to ask you, this might sound controversial.
Hell yeah, I like it.
Well, it might not be actually. Do you think there is a certain level of sort of like pretentiousness in indie art films or in small crew films? Because of this sort of idealised thing of like, we're doing something that's real art, you know?
Yeah, you get that. I've not experienced it in droves. I have experienced it, but I do think it's overblown. I think, although that being said, someone's probably watching this and thinking, oh God, what a hypocrite. But you know, it's like, there are certainly people out there that like take it so seriously and they make it their whole life and like, you know, they act like they're saving the film industry or whatever, and it's like, no, you're not. Just make your product and bugger off, okay, and let people enjoy it. That's it, all right. You know, I think when people get into the whole art thing of it, it's like, shut up. I don't care, really. Like, it's either, is it fun? Is it interesting? Do people like it, or do they think it's boring and not worth your time? That's it. The same as any other product. People look at a restaurant. Do you want to go there? Nah, it doesn't look that good. Same with a film. You're making a product, or doing a service. So yeah, people do get pretentious about it, but I do think it's an overstated issue, and I think that overstatedness is a stereotype that comes from within the Hollywood-esque, Hollywood in quotes, to say basically, you know, I'm going to call it the bourgeoisie of filmmaking, to use a very pretentious term for it. Yeah, it kind of comes from within there. The same sort of way that, you know, like, there's stereotypes about conspiracy theorists that I feel like come from within, like, you know, because it's from the outside criticizing this thing, so you want to try and make their point look stupid and make people look past what they're saying and just judge them on appearances, you know, like, we've all heard of the indie artist who has like the turtleneck like this and has those like round sunglasses and has a picture and has like their profile picture in black and white of them with a camera like this. So we've got all that. And yeah, I'd like them all to stop, please, and stop posting your bloody like black and white bloody images on Instagram going whoosh. It's annoying. I feel like this video is going to be a bit longer than a minute and a half.
I think it might be. Hold on, how do I stop?
If you want, we can do like a couple like literally 5-10 second answer type things if you need it to be a minute and a half.
Yeah, okay. Can I get a quick shot of you holding a camera?
Hell yeah.
Hi, honey.
Hey, yo, doggy.
Hello.
Are you dog of the day? That's the question.
I think it just might be dog of the day.
Yeah, close. The other one was a bit better. There was that giant black one that wasn't on camera.
Yeah.
That was dog of the day, I'd say.
I was with a dog on the train today.
Yeah.
But it was one of those like service dogs that you're not allowed to stroke, but it feels really tempting.
I know what you mean.
So that was a struggle. Do you want to hold your camera or do you want to hold this camera?
Let me just put all this crap in here. Oh, God. I hope there's some use out of these.